Welcome back, everybody, to the STL. We return with more Valorant action this week. With me back finally in on the mic, joining alongside Dallas, who goes nowhere else but here. And I guess sometimes other places as well. But this is the tried and true home for us here down south here for the SEL. We've got an interesting setup of teams coming into this one. A 2-1 team who's gotten away with not having their fourth game so far. So they had a bye week in round one. It'll be Texas Tech facing off against Clemson Orange that's sitting 3-1. Has had themselves 3 solid victories and hasn't had really the chance yet to have a bye, besides the fact that I think actually 2 of their wins are forfeit wins. So you can almost classify them as byes, but not really. That's still a win.
I mean, technically, we can classify it as that still. I mean, you got stuff like that all over the place, but still, we're kind of getting our way into the season a little bit. And there's no kind of joking around at this point, considering every single team has at least 4 games to some degree on their record thus far. You got to make sure you're really kind of kicking things into high gear. And considering both these teams, as you mentioned, has had themselves a little bit of a leeway to get to this point. Texas Tech, I mean, obviously playing a little bit more. It comes down to the scrims, it comes down to the practice, and it comes down to other leagues as well, and how that really transitions into this environment. So consider that now we are working the best of threes here in the SAL. And I mean, already we look at Texas Tech and we look at them playing a little bit more games and winning those definitively actually inside the server. They should be relatively favored for a matchup like this. But Clemson, considering the kind of caliber I've seen this team play at in other places, and especially over past years, I think they still have what it takes to at least bring it into a 2-1 worst case.
One of the division leads for Rocket League Snipes said that this was a Clemson revenge match. I don't know where they got that. Maybe it's a Rocket League pure thing here as they jump over. Maybe this is now the Valorant teams trying to get some revenge for whatever happened in Rocket League. I don't know. I don't pay attention to that. We have Bepic who makes videos and does all that stuff for us. You know, we just let that slide on by us over here in Dallas. If this happens to be revenge match for your university, you picked a pretty solid selection of maps to be able to do so. Ascent's gonna be the first that we head into here at the start of this series, followed by Bind. Sunset and Icebox were banned out, which is a little bit sad. I've actually seen a lot of Icebox
Yeah,
recently. And then it'll be Breeze for the Decider, which I know you really liked Breeze way back when. I don't know if you still have that,
still do.
visceral reaction to how much you love Breeze. But if it does go to a third map, that's a solid one in my mind.
Meanwhile, the B side did change up a little bit. I hated it at first, considering they kind of removed that tube access. It was just completely pointless to like the window's open and you can snipe through it, but it's like nobody's going to be there because it does absolutely nothing. And literally, an Omen couldn't even shadow step through it. So it's like, okay, maybe it's a from the shadows usage or whatnot, but even then, you're running more walls than anything else on this map, and I mean, just isn't really as potent as you'd like them to be. So consider what we got here on this lineup. Obviously, a little bit of a collegiate special with that Breeze being the decider. Something obviously that both teams are comfortable with to some degree. So it being the decider, the wild thing is it just comes down to that Ascent as the initial pick. We always see this map in every single series, it feels like, but it really comes down to more so who's more prepared for it. And it always comes down to the team that I always talk about picking it. It's either a complete wash or whether of the other side, because they're like, sweet, you went ahead and took care of that bullet for us, or even the more so it comes down to a close affair where you see the team actually squeezing it out, but not by a margin to where they think they comfortably win it enough for them to actually pick it in the first place.
I saw a really close. It was a best of 5, but it goes to the third map. As close as you can get. First map 1 and map 2.
Yeah.
Head over to Ascent 13-1. Where did it come from? I'm not exactly sure, but then the very next game, the very next day, it goes into a full overtime scenario with, I think, like 6 rounds of OT, just the worst kind of thing you can see, just over and over and over again, Ascent. And they say played the exact same lineups, the exact same strategies. It's crazy how Ascent can turn into this either ridiculously one-sided affair or turn into this game that is as tough as you can possibly get for an esport, just that back and forth neck and neck action.
Yep.
It's also not the one we like to see first, typically, right? Ascent's not the map you want to see going up first. We like to see it as a decider. Typically, it's that third map you want to see it fall in, let
Thank
people
God.
fight it out from there. But first, I'm not a huge fan of it, personally speaking, Dallas. I don't know how necessarily you play out into it. I'd rather see Icebox, honestly. I had so much fun casting Icebox recently. The change to center 2, but there's a window there now. They changed up orange. I am loving Icebox. And nobody here in the SEO really wants to test.
I mean, the biggest thing though that really comes down to the Ascent drought that we experience when it comes around specifically to this map is just seeing over and over again the same exact comps. That's the biggest thing. And what we're already seeing out of obviously the side of Clemson is going to be that default lineup: the Jet for the Duelist, the Double Initiator to KO and Sova, then you have that Omen and you have the KJ. But it really comes down to everything else. Do you have any switch ups? Thankfully, a matchup that I saw on Monday, somebody brought the Sage back into this map, and I'll say, all right, I can get behind that. Then now we're looking at Yoru being introduced, replacing that KO. Still kind of playing as that initiator duelist hybrid, which is relatively familiar and can be used properly if kind of introduced properly and utilized to its full extent. So I'm loving to see the Texas Tech is swapping things up. This map, I'm not going to complain nearly as much as I typically do when we look at a set, just because any face at all being different, it's just enough to at least breathe a whole new breath of life into this map specifically, knowing that, I mean, it's just something. It's a new lineup that can be taken. It's a new aggressive push that can be made. It's a new kind of maybe 3-2 split where you have a little bit more aggression based off what a Yoru can provide. It's just switches things up to some degree where you're saying, all right, I can get behind this.
On a map like Bind, Storm's going to have a really good job of going about it when Texas Tech switch over to that map. But on the map of Ascent, it's a little bit harder to find great profit with that Yoru. They're going to be lacking this air point. They're going to be lacking the information off the suppress. They're going to be lacking the suppress in the first place. There's a reason why it's very meta. But I am a big fan, and you'll find me rooting for you 1% more when there is a different face on the roster for the agent selection. We'll have to see how the Yoru pans out here for Texas Tech, though. A Storm will be out the gates first, walking down walkway, working their way on in through tree. That seems to be the primary point of entry for Texas Tech as of the current moment. Epoch has that held down, has a fragment at the ready to toss out as well, as these two players that are inside Puppy as of the moment just needs to wait for that extra bit of information. The player's swinging, and Epoch can't get the shot out. No utility to be had as the Panda tank opens up the first blood of the series.
Yeah, just looking for a little bit more pressure here coming in from the retake. Looking at already having 5v4 kind of situation. You're looking to see how these players can really go ahead and start dishing out this damage. Just seeing that you do have a singular flank coming through, kind of looking for that flank coming from the KJ, now opting for that tree avenue. It's going to be a 4v5, just kind of outright looking for this war of attrition, setting that line of scrimmage and looking to see how these fights are going to be taken. But it really comes down to Zuko able to go ahead and equalize those odds and see what really the rest of the team can do coming from these doors.
Have to connect. Great one for Divers. Able to take down Zep as well for Poco. It's refrags back and back as Divers only finds another one. Has to do a little bit more and can't. As the Raptors play from Zuko and Poco. Combo for one apiece. Defuse will go through. The Sheriffs being so darn successful for Clemson Orange, and defensively, they're going to hold on to be a powerhouse 2 apiece to take down Texas Tech Red for the very first round in this series. And a great way to do so for the map of Ascent. When they get into the site, they get that first blood. They shut down Epoch, who's waiting for that utility just inside of Guarded. You got to be very wary of a team that's willing to swing that with little to no information and little to no ways to gain that information. And any round, let alone in the pistol round when utility is lacking, you got to humble them a little bit early. And Clemson Orange do a great job to do so.
I mean, that's all it really takes. Just going ahead, holding these angles, make sure nothing really gets overextended here, and just don't let this game kind of get out of your control. I mean, already Clemson Orange, when you saw that defensive hold, you saw the retake underway, you just got to make sure to grab these frags. And even then, having their initial player drop, it comes down to who overextends. And quite frankly, that singular kill, just one player overextending into through a smoke, looking for some free kills, just kind of getting punished for it. It comes into those avenues and those situations where you're saying, look, we can't be doing that again because we had numbers, gave it up essentially for free, and we didn't really put that pressure on the spike. So that's something kind of tried and true that we see on this map over and over again. Don't really go crazy. There's not too much of an overextension to really make here. This map is just made really for just holding your shots.
Epoch will make up for the loss early of their life in the last round. 2 players off the board, trying to worm their way in through tree. And it's the same 2 players that did so in the last round as well. Diver's able to get their 1, and that truly will be it as Halo Jorge refrags that back to their doppelganger. And it's just Jazzcatraz left standing in a 1v4, trying to worm their way in through tree alongside where they just had their Sova and their Yoru go down. It'll be a short-lived success, if any success, which there was none from this individual. As a Sheriff goes back, Deadload secured that frag. 2-0 start coming from Clemson Orange, and a lot of that off the success of Epoch, who holds strong with the Guardian and trades it back out. They hand that to Zuko. They want the Spectre. They'll say, yeah, I'll rock an SMG. My angle doesn't need too much control anyways. They're probably going to sit inside Market, would be my guess here, Dallas, for this next round. They'll rotate away from that guarded hold and anticipate that a B push will come from Texas Tech. But that's not where the team is stacking. There's 4 players inside A main.
No, they're going for a triple hit on side this A site, and I mean, I really can't blame you. It chested those first 2 rounds. It kind of worked out for you just at least getting the plant down, but now that you have these full rifles, you should be able to win these gunfights outright. So, I mean, already knowing that advantage can be going to your favor a little bit. You're just waiting for this one way to go down, looking for the opportunity to really start pushing, and having that Yoru available to you, have a decoy to kind of go ahead and at least funnel something out, maybe bait a player to some degree, and just get yourself that extra pressure to find yourself that successful plant, which they've seen over and over and over again. It really comes down to the post plant now. They haven't lost any players. They've grabbed this space accordingly, but how is the approach going to take here? Because once again, I feel like a flank could go ahead and be kind of at least inked towards to kind of give an idea of these players and make sure there's not numbers just overwhelming the site. But you can tell once more that the guys are kept there. And if we see Zeph just kind of go ahead and get cut off, which doesn't happen, that could have been a very, very free extra area that you can just overwhelm the site from. But now things are looking a little more difficult. The door's still up. Retake time to come too heavy. You don't really have that full auto power to really back up that shot. And even in the aiming that's there out of this Texas Tech roster, but already mowing through in a 2v1 situation, Clemson has made something out of this. With nothing but a Spectre in hand, there's just not much you can really do.
Trade it out for a Vandal. There's something still here, Dallas. But they got to be let and given the space to cook, and that just isn't going to be the case. Two players on the other side of arches just spells a monstrous situation to try to put yourself in between. As Panda Take and Zap, the last two remaining, will make sure they secure that last frag and guarantee Texas Tech a good round win. But if you exit round 3, the round that your anticipated success, in your rifle buy with only 2 rifles remaining, can you truly classify that as an end-all be-all win? A lot of teams will say that's not the result we were looking for. That's not what we were trying to say. I think it's good enough against a team like Clemson Orange, but you only dropped 1 weapon out of their hand in round 2. So considering the lack of success in round 2, I think it's still arguably a poor spot to put yourself in, as the Jet for the side of Clemson Orange will opt to go for an operator here. The boomstick is in play. And I've been seeing a lot of the operator on the map of Ascent recently, and it's been in the hands of many different agents, not just your primary duelists. They like to pivot that around and try to find those picks as early as possible. The KJ utility with the only thing here to gatekeep the Texas Tech side from pursuing in from B main, as they'll start to swing themselves on out. Owl drone around the corner, Nano Swarm to tag, very little damage off. It's the duelist that extends out into space, and there's that Owl drone to make sure nobody's in the site. This will be a free plant for Texas Tech.
Yeah, already just once again, I mean, look at these successful plants over and over again. We're seeing Texas Tech just get these plants down. I mean, almost with no congestion whatsoever. And I mean, you got to credit to Clemson. I mean, already going ahead, accumulating 2 of these rounds when it comes down to these full retakes, to where you just kind of laying your shots and take the space at the same time. When you get to these situations where you're going for these full retakes, KO just acts a perfect counter. Problem is, Texas Tech doesn't have KO available. That's why this man's just so strong here. But quite frankly, we have an operator on the defensive side having to go ahead and swing angles, not successfusly really doing that. Now that player has to go ahead and dig something else up, has to risk their life on the line, and has to push in through one of these tight angles as we're used to seeing. While Pogo can get at least one of those in the meantime, everybody else is just knowing that time's probably going to go more so to your side and get Texas Tech around. While it is expensive dropping every single gun, it's a success nonetheless.
Yeah, a win's a win is a win is a win. You get the spike down, you get the detonation, you get the winner's bonus, the extra credits for that, and now you get to tie things up 2-2 and sit fairly pretty. This is a bad spot for Clemson to be in, as they kept the boomstick. The operator's still in play for Poco when they managed to pick up that final frag on top of it to further bury any of the economy that Texas Tech would still have remaining. But the win pads them up just enough to make sure everybody can still buy something with armor, whether it be hard or soft. Clemson don't have that luxury. So you've got 1 player with an operator, and the rest are pulling up scraps between the couch cushions. Nothing they can really bring of substance to this round. A single stinger on the board. Everyone else with sheriffs and soft armor, and they're hoping that defensively they can somehow get enough tag damage out of these players extending through these chokeholds to find something that they can piece their way. And Epoch just can't. No success, a blind fire through a dark cover because the Owl Drone gives the information. Texas Tech get a freebie first blood, and they get site control on A.
I mean, quite frankly, we don't even have to call the first half of these rounds every single time. Texas Tech, they get these successful plants over and over and over again, just so consistently that I'm never stressed about them getting that spike down. That's going to be 300 creds every single round that we see go in, of course, on this attacking side for the team. The defense is the big thing I'm looking at for them. I mean, is that next half going to look nearly as good? Are going to play just as aggressive? How are they going to work out the rest of this? Because these spike plans are going down. They're finding the success, and better yet, they're getting the respective money off the back of every single one of these, where they can risk these plants over and over again. They can go for these round tries and not really care about it. I just need to see what these post plants look like. And while they're just kind of fragging out, I want to see whether or not Clemson Orange can maybe take a timeout here in these next couple rounds if they do see this deficit start to go ahead and lean more towards their side, more so, to kind of see how they can counteract this, because they still have that KO. They can shut these guys down. They have the flashes. They have the intel. They have all the abilities there, but I just don't think the site presence is the thing that they're really kind of leaning in towards, because while they're playing on site, A, site's giving up nearly for free. They just go ahead and try to escape and work on their numbers, but B, they always play towards that tent or towards that back site, towards that market, and just run away. And it always feels like that boathouse is never contested, that site is never contested, and Texas Tech know that this is just free real estate for them to take.
The ability to place the dark cover so well for Texas Tech, and the inability of Clemson Orange to slow them down with any utility just makes matters so darn difficult for them. Storm's using the VTOL to get as much information as possible. The shorty's out! And down goes Jax. Unbelievable success from Storms, when arguably it should never have gone as successfully as it had. And when you combo the Yoru on this B site just in general as a great way to burn all of that KJ utility, not needing to waste your jet to swing forward to the tailwind, to have to go into that open space, the Yoru util can do it all by itself. It honestly is really indicative success for Texas Tech. It's just going to be harder pressed to find that same success when you flip over to the defense on that second half. But if you get good enough lead, it won't matter anyways, because Clemson have no answer for your assault, your oppressive control over these objectives. It is a total Texas red in the feed, as once again, you're going to have to fall back away from the zoning area of that site. And 4 players will stay unscathed in the totality of that round for Texas Tech. It's just as good as it gets for them on these attacks.
I mean, it's just again and again and again for them. I mean, quite frankly, you can tell they played into it, whether or not this is their kind of full-time composition, but knowing they were starting the attacking side, they want to find this early lead. They want to get themselves on the board to where defense is just more of kind of a recovery game. And while they didn't find themselves those pistol rounds, that could be really the one test that they give to themselves to say, look, honestly, we don't care about those 2 because we got rifles first, and that just lets us run the game, because that element of surprise is just working out perfectly for us. So already going ahead and looking at what Clemson Orange has to provide for a round like this. We saw the 2-old investment in that last round. Clemson Orange now has 3 to put in a round like this. The front of the shadows sure not be the most useful thing in the world, but the null command, if you do find yourself at least maybe 1 gun to pick up, will be enough information on site for an aggressive KO to kind of be that backup for that jet. And even then, a Hunter's Fury accumulated on that B site from that orb as well. So there's plenty of stuff to do here, but you just don't have the guns to back it up. So are you confident enough in your utility to compensate for these kills, or are you just kind of going to go ahead and once again scrap things out?
I think you have to get scrappy with it. I don't think that there's any other way about it. You can use the recon vault to gather information, vault behind Jin as best as you can, but they've got long control of the operator that was left up at the end of the previous round. Hoko is just trying to piece something up, but the sheriffs are doing most of the dirty work for you, doing that due diligence. And Storm, even though they seemed in a dangerous spot, you just quickly teleport out of Dodge and back to the ascent side. It's just Storm remaining. A great run down for the 2 remaining players for Clemson Orange, but Storm can just bait you. There's nothing you can do about this. The decoy first and foremost. Your player who shot it wasn't even the one that was going for the defuse. You don't have any covering fire for it. And the secondary one has to stick it as well, because time was already no longer a matter of contention. Texas Tech know they've got speed. They know they've got the ability to completely burn through all of Clemson Orange's, I wouldn't even say utility, because it doesn't even feel like they have the chance to pop the utility to keep Texas Tech at bay. It's a great showcase of why sometimes the best attack is just that, attacking as fast as you can.
I mean, even more so it leans again into Clemson. Talking about these flanks. Those arches are going to be such a pain in the rear when you get around to getting that spike down, and Texas Tech does that successfully every single time. So you got to put yourself in a situation where you're saying, look, we can actually overwhelm those arches, knock out 2 birds with 1 stone. Both arches have their own bird because they're their own nuisance, and you can just keep on baiting those things out. So over and over again, if you're in these situations where you're going for a retake and just kind of left naked to get it done, you just can't really accomplish much off of that. But speaking of accomplishments, you're not really finding much off this B push. It was a total fake coming through out of that KJ lockdown, enough to at least bait the other players towards the site thinking they're going to be there. But once again, another successful A plant coming through, out wide in the open, not even over towards that generator, to where once again you could just play around those arches, bait back and forth, and have the rest of those members there just kind of playing the game in just a way that just annoys you rather than actually just taking the shots.
Paranoia from down below inside hell, flushing back the 3 players up inside rafters on the retake for Clemson Orange. Jaskatraz will need assistance from the backside over towards Tree, as they're aware that players will be coming from there, but they wanted to take the fight from the players down below rafters instead. Get their 1-for-1 trade. Halo Jorge now the only one remaining in that onslaught, out from Tree, losing Jax not far behind. Clemson Orange will have to try to go for this defuse sitting inside the smoke. Can they get this in time? The damage is there, and the Panda Tank does shoot it down just in time, as Zuko was just moments away from finishing off that defuse. And a 6th round guaranteed now for Texas Tech, who in the meat of these rounds, when rifles have been purchased, has been flawless as a team on these executes in towards site. 6 now in a row.
It's over and over and over and over and over again. You're just stuck in a point of limbo on the side of Clemson to where you're just trying to fetch solutions. And quite frankly, you're not even taking the time to really do that. I think worst case scenario, you take a timeout after this round. I was calling it earlier. I was already seeing the momentum going Texas Tech's direction. And you need to make sure to kind of give yourself a moment to stop that snowball effect and let it go ahead and just kind of redirect that mass. You can't have enough efforts on board to break it down. But speaking once more, breaking down, already we've broken down this site. We've given all the information that's necessary, and we've given up the side on the side of Clemson Orange once more, where they want to opt for that full 5-man retake. I appreciate the efforts every time. I love the idea of saying, let's go and not give up any numbers initially. But good God, if you're not spending as much money as them, at least give it your best shot.
The retakes haven't been perfect coming out of Clemson Orange. And so putting all their proverbial eggs in the basket of this retake spells disaster if Texas Tech can just get a couple shots out, and that's exactly what they're doing. They get 2 picks for Clemson Orange, that's fine, but you're now being flanked in from the opposing side in through market as 3 players went off into no man's land. But Clemson Orange getting those kills on sites gained them control over a couple of weapons. Do they get this round? It may be possible. Time is going to be tight, but they're going to have it by 1.3 seconds as Poco, who was just barely not spotted, extending out to go for that defuse. Only needed 1 single shot from minigun to take them down, but Texas Tech Rec will give up their very first attacking round once they've had rifles in their hands, but it's not going to matter too much. They've had so many credits since then, but finally we see Clemson Orange having credits to their name.
I hate to put the blame on singular players, but I mean, I'm handed the towel to Panda on that one. I saw that leap out from that sidewalk, and I'm thinking, what in Lord's name are you doing? Just seeing that you're just going ahead, picking 2 players, you're out in the middle of the open, just literally flying, thinking you're a jet or something with Blade Storm, and that's just not going to work. I mean, even then, finding at least a little bit of damage, if not successfully finding a kill, if you have 2 players alive there, especially a Sova with the utility, you can bide that time to find those kills successfully. In that case, they still could have just found that 1 shot on Jet. But while I'm speaking over a singular point, it doesn't have to be very long still for Texas Tech to once again start a round, get themselves in sight, and get a spike line down off the back of it, or in the same exact retake situation. We'll see what Clemson Orange can do, whether they can replicate that with full guns now in their hands.
Well, there's no utility available for Texas Tech, as the null command does come out for Clemson Orange, but they're quickly running out of time for that null command, as it will eventually dissipate, no longer be up for contention. Halo Jorge, but they did 2 frag off towards staircase side, does get spotted by Tyrus, but just can't get the kill, and it leaves only Panda Tank securing 2 big frags, but now leaving it up for a 1v1. They'll pop the Hunter's Fury. They'll just buy themselves some time and go for the player up on top of Spike. The second one did not tap. Shock dart over the top. Will it kill? It does! Slam dunk onto Halo Jorge. And you can see the slight jump of desperation in the final moment there to try to escape from it. But not good enough. Texas Tech on the speed make up for the loss in the round prior. And we'll have yet another assaulting round win.
Now, I know what Texas Tech fans are thinking. Mick, why are you going ahead and giving Panda all this crap? Because he just went ahead and made up for it the exact next round. Keep in mind what would have happened if he was alive the round before. Just say it, okay? Now, let's go ahead and, realistically, they win that round once more. But it's okay. They brushed it aside. Texas Tech once more, find themselves another successful round back-to-back, and just kind of get themselves, once again, the sequence going underway to where you put Clemson Orange back into a situation where they don't really have to buy, and because, well, they can't. So already getting themselves underway. This is a round where we're looking at something finally a little bit different. Texas Tech taking this approach slowly, still going for a little bit more of an approach towards that A site because they know that's their more successful site. And quite frankly, we've already seen Clemson Regents. They're setting up towards trade. They're looking to get this aggression. But issue with that is they're taking damage for it. Already, your Jet is down to 66 HP, but when everybody's swinging out on the site, on the other side of a Dark Shroud, well, good luck even finding anything off that. Because that's a free swing into the top fragger on the side of Texas Tech, and both those duelists, where you just, quite frankly, you're doing nothing.
I think it's crazy how they almost treat their Jet like a sacrificial lamb here, Dallas, for Texas Tech on these extensions. You have a Yoru, though. You have ways to bait out those fragments, to bait out any nano swarms that we've seen on the B side as well. And yet they're not using it in some of these scenarios because they'd rather leave on this A side specifically. Shock's a little bit further back, or Storm, sorry, a little bit further back, and have them sit off towards arches to play for the long angle because the utility just isn't as important at these angles. A great flick here from Jax. Won't matter though, as the Panda Tech secures the final 2 frags, and Texas Tech now move up to an 8-3 stat line and are one away from a very possible 9-3 score on Ascent for their attacking side, which is none too shocking if you've been here for this whole half and seen just how impressive their attacks have tended to be. But we've seen weaknesses. It just doesn't seem like Clemson Orange is seeing the same thing we are. Hopefully they aren't. They shouldn't be able to see what we see in the observer view. But they just aren't seeing the same things we're seeing in the grand myopic scope of Ascent. They've got to realize that they're just not placing utility correctly. They're throwing it too slowly, and Texas Tech are pretty much just ignoring it and walking straight through it, even though most teams would say, okay, we'll wait out this fragment. We'll wait out this nano swarm. We'll wait out the little bit of util you're sending our way. Like the 4 dark covers it seems like you're throwing out, they're just walking through, and that's the scariest part about Texas Tech.
I mean, the big thing here is that Texas Tech's utility don't really have to opt for it any too much. I mean, they just kind of play the game. They're hitting their shots, and I mean, we mentioned that kind of that double duelist situation where the Jet, yes, sure, is there, but her only job is to take that space. Yoru can do that, sure, but I mean, this guy is fragging. Your Jet is the bottom fragger of your team, not really doing her job. You're waiting for this player to wake up with the operator on that defense. Right now, it is just a body that can rush in. And while that decoy can clear the alarm bot, Jet can just dash right through everything else and just kind of bait it out. While the rest of your team gets that spike down, knowing that everything has now been cleared out. So looking at Texas Tech once more, getting the spike down, going over towards the B side. It once again comes down to how they hold this out. And already in a 5v4 situation, 1 player on that sidewalk, 2 players sitting back towards those arches. It's not nearly as successful as A arches and how you can really kind of play around that spike. But it's enough to at least kind of create that pressure where it's saying you're not pushing to this spike for free, and Halo isn't really in a situation to even attempt that. Already going ahead, being scouted out, knowing you're right there towards market, kind of pushing away from the spike while you have another singular player hunting after you. It puts Texas Tech in this situation where they are just absolutely running this game down. So now being on the defensive end of the side of the board at a 9-3 for the half, it comes down to that situation I mentioned earlier about round 4, saying, do they switch things up on this defense? Do they play nearly just as aggressive? Or are there retakes or at least map to the same exact thing, knowing their shots are hitting that much more? And I wouldn't blame for doing exactly that, because you know that aggression is going to work for your advantage now. If you decoy right out of the smoke, more than likely your player is going to shoot it thinking that, well, Storm hasn't really cared about what fights he takes and doesn't. That could be the real one.
Is it even possible, Dallas, to play as aggressively on the defense as you just did on the attack?
Ascent easily. Ascent and Sunset, those 2 maps.
That is true. That is true. But almost not possible still with Texas Tech. With how quick they were playing these attacks, with how aggressive they were playing these attacks, it still almost seems impossible when this is one of the maps that it should be capable of doing so. I love the bait last round, tossing the lockdown off towards the A side. We didn't really see it ever utilized by Texas Tech.
Second time they've done that too.
You gotta make sure you're playing into that if you're Clemson. Or they even had a player get detained by it on the defense. Why? How are you getting detained by something where there's no players whatsoever pushing that? And you knew that because you had a player up in rafters watching until 3 seconds until it actually went off, and they were completely safe and fine. But your player in Garden that gets detained. Doesn't matter. This round has to go forward, and it's Clemson on the first round of their attack, finding the first blood. It's Poco off towards Tibers. Texas Tech now at that man disadvantage. Needs to try to keep players alive, but unfortunately just is not capable of doing so. Zep as well, already low and taking even further damage here with more ghost shots. How are they not dead? I'm not sure, but it's fed Poco now 3 kills as a duelist, meaning that Blade Storm is going to be up very soon for the Clemson Orange side. And Epoch makes matters worse. That null command is going to charge up even quicker here as well. 5 hits for Poco at the end of round 1 for the second half.
And I mean, Texas Tech not looking too hot with these pistols in hand, but keep in mind there wasn't any rounds on the attacking side besides the pistol rounds that they didn't have the guns to work with. So, I mean, we're obviously expecting this team to be a little bit different. I mean, not to play their same exact degree or caliber, their same pace of what we did see them in that entire first half. Just everything following that second round. But I mean, it comes down to the pistol rounds once more. This is keeping Clemson alive. It's buying more time for them. but goodness gracious, we got to see what they can really do.
Revealing
Making
area.
around like this can be really expensive. It's going to be really tough looking at how Texas Tech plays this game. And once again, kind of going ahead and setting a testament to this utility. We're already seeing it playing a little bit more aggressive. We see the kind of TP setup. We see the rotations ready to roll. We look at these players
Enemy
stretching themselves across the map in the big scheme of this
Right here.
utility game to make sure they're ready for really whatever's being thrown at them. The only player who can't be ready for something would be Tippers. Trying to go ahead and bait out that shadow step. Not really getting too much besides a little bit of information and bullet to the head, knowing that, okay, there's now a Vandal on the board. Clemson's forcing up. They want to make sure that they're not looking at the second round. They want to find the third, fourth, and so forth.
And Texas Tech going to have to reevaluate from this point onwards. Epoch now making sure that their presence is known, saying, hey, there is in fact a second Vandal in the room. Doesn't seem to keep Jaskatraz off of him, though. Epoch will go down, and that'll be a Vandal that will be recollected by a player that's dropping in further from behind on this Clemson Orange side as they now step in towards side to go for this plant down on A. Recon Bolt does go up over the top. All 4 players are spotted. Some of the most impact you can find in a Recon Bolt, but nothing really you can do past that for Panda Tank. Recon Bolt over the rafters, and a dark cover actually really well placed, and Panda did not need to fall back for that. Jeroman really did step up for the Clemson side, shockingly of all teams to do so. And no one else really does the same here for Texas Tech. A complete dismantling, as you would expect for that second round. And that's exactly how Clemson picked up 2 out of the 3 of their round wins in that first half. But this is where Texas Tech, when they get the rifles in their hands, Dallas, start to really make their presence known. Let's see if they really are as aggressive as they were in the first half.
Let's more Panda can go ahead and compensate for those 2 rounds that was sacrificed off that
You
singular
and Panda,
jump.
man. What's with you and Panda?
Dude,
You are
it is just that
still in
I
on this.
don't get it. I haven't seen an iron swing something like that, man. It's just like I expect more. Can a father not expect more, right? Can I not just hope that players that play at this degree, you know, expect to be at the caliber where I think they can all play, you know, VCT level. Go ahead, go run through the challengers. We're here for criticisms. We're here for encouragement, and we're here to help these players get better, but also because we get paid for entertainment purposes. So already going ahead and getting this next round underway. I mean, looking at this 4-round gap, this is where these guns come online. This is where this aggression is now warranted, and we already see Tippers playing for that. Instead of going through market, going over towards tree, and God, so help me God!
Panda,
no.
Panda,
You
please,
take the
I'm
rest
begging
of this one.
you.
I can't.
Panda! Please, I'm trying to save you from Dallas, and somehow you're still putting yourself in the limelights, in the crosshairs. This Texas gentleman right now. Technically Georgia, but he's in Texas right now, so it doesn't matter anyways. Texas Tech, 2 players left and remaining, no one on site, as everyone has been snuffed out of their life in that direction for B. And the 3 players now remaining for Clemson will stack themselves up on the objective. Tibers needs assistance very quickly here. Your jet alongside you. Seen a pretty big lack of success on any attempted retakes, but you finally have rifles in your hands. They're clearing out all of the available space that Clemson could possibly be lying within. Even trading out some of the rifles they had previously to pick them up. There goes Jaskatraz, gets themselves their 1, but can't find much past that. Tibers knows they need to extend. The flash is perfect, and somehow they're not dead at the end of it. They will finally fall, but it was way too late in all honesty, and Clemson will take 3 in a row. This second half, which was a much needed thing considering the stat line differential there was between the first half.
Well, this could be the start of the end here. I mean, this is their map pick. We were expecting more, and after that kind of detrimental first half that we saw come through for them, their defense may just really not be there. But this we're going to see these holes really start to fill, because this retake potential for Texas Tech has to be approached in the same way I feel like Clemson did, because in the same manner of how they were playing these rounds. Strong, aggressive, quick, but they got to make sure to utilize every single avenue of the map. And if you come from those back 2 angles where you're only split at 50-50 with 5 players alive, you can make those investments, especially in terms of utility, especially for Clemson Orange, where you can now throw that knife, deny that utility, and slow things down. Texas Tech doesn't have that benefit to go ahead and do that, to find these retakes when they're not having anything thrown at them. It's going to be a sleuth of guns, a sleuth of gadgets being thrown at them over and over again. And a round like this, you're seeing it come out in terms of the blades.
You get your 1. Unfortunately, not able to find a second timers with the long shot over from Stairwell. With that, Sheriff secures the pickup. Can't get a second one past it. Panda Tank has this Marshall to try and get some tag damage out. Towards any individuals on the side of Clemson Orange who may overextend from back of Boathouse. But you're looking at a very tough 3v4. Storm's position is really not gaining you very much here. 0 point will go out, letting everybody know, hey, Storm is pretty darn close here. There's not really much you could do past that. The Wombat does go off. Fragment tossed over the top. You know it was a short toss. Epoch should be right below you here on Walkway. This is a great slow game for Clemson Orange, as I believe Texas Tech are just going to play for essentially the exit frags here against Clemson. They have to try to escape from sight. This is perfect. Hold them hostage in their own objective. Jazzcatraz caught off guard. Zuko, the savior here for the exit from Clemson, but it wasn't good enough for two. Just barely. Jackson Epoch could not escape from sight. A good enough win in my books for Texas Tech, but this round still falls to Clemson Orange.
Yeah, hell of a lot more than 0, but I mean, that's the best case scenario where you're looking at a save round. When you know that the kind of odds are against you, you can't really get things done, and you know that these angles are not going to work out for you with the Sheriff retaking on that B site, that you just kind of go ahead, hold them, because there's only 2 narrow avenues where those guns can now take your one shots easily. So already going ahead and pinning at that round, getting a couple guns knocked out, and seeing that Texas Tech still, this is a round where they have to start really clutching things up. I want to see what this boomstick now on the defense can really start to do. The double player allocation towards mid was something relatively questionable on my end, something I've never really seen before, but look at it now, all this aggression coming over towards this B site. You have enough players there to at least rotate immediately, but I mean, the calls are made way back because Sova's already here.
Halo Jorge out first here on Walkway, trying to get the kill towards the player of Zeph in the back of sight. Somehow Zeph survives a little bit longer than anticipated, not able to get any damage out, which is just fine for Clemson Orange, really what they're hoping for. Aldrin will go off. Does it actually find the pip there? Yes, it did, just for a moment there. On to Jackson. Texas Tech will have to extend out from back of defender spawn. You know, with players inside B main, they don't necessarily know when this smoke will dissipate, but the second they swing in through this, they're not checking it. Epoch's going to get a good 3 spray down, and a great buddy ace between Halo Jorge and Epoch to secure all 5 by themselves as Clemson Orange. Now we're 1 round away from tying things up against Texas Tech, who step into this half up 9-3 and utterly were destroying Clemson Orange on that attack. Now Clemson have 5 in a row to answer.
Can we get Observer? You can go ahead and let them know in game chat that they do have timeouts available to them. Because we didn't see one in the last half, and I doubt we're going to see one here, quite frankly. But I mean, they just need to know that there is
Maybe don't.
As much as I would love that, trust me, I'm all for PM. But good God, that's going to tilt the limits.
That would tilt
Texas
Tech so bad.
That would be hysterical.
The observer of the league you're playing in is letting you know that you have a timeout. That has got to be the lowest.
Spike down mid.
But realistically speaking, I mean, still able to go ahead and manage 1 kill for this round so far. So good look for him. I mean, looking at how this game is panning out, seeing how they're playing these things. I mean, Clemson Orange, they're not even playing at the same relative speed that we saw Texas Tech working at. But still, Texas Tech's retakes haven't been nearly as fast as their attacking side either. There's just a lot lacking here. These gears aren't nearly turning to the same kind of mileage that we were looking at earlier. And I think, honestly, it's not a detriment to them, but they got to see that frag ability come out once more, because they're just kind of getting choked out and giving Clemson Orange that respect they never really earned.
What was that updraft, Poca? What was that? What are they doing on Walkway?
Portal closed.
What was he cooking? Clemson Orange, up at that man advantage. They're playing this super slow for a round where they know that Texas Tech are ecoing.
Revealing area.
Even sending out the recon bolt up over the top, catching Tibers just as they were sending out a dark cover. But that they go mostly unnoticed, needing to scurry back away. Couldn't just clear the utility, which may have been wiser in the grand scheme of things. It's a great shutdown for Epoch and Zuko, and everyone that was actively defending this A site no longer up for contention, and you've got just Panda Tank now in a 1v3. We've seen crazy things happen, but that's about as easy as it gets for Epoch to knock the head off Panda Tank. 9-9 now our scoreline, as a 6-round spree in the first half for Texas Tech gave them such a narrowing lead. Clemson Orange now answer it without even giving up a round in the second half, something that Texas Tech didn't have the luxury to say up to that point.
Let me just say now this game's going. I mean, you're at a point now where this is the detrimental round. This is the round you have to win, not only for the sake of kind of looking at how this game's going, but I talk about that 10th round being that real chokehold, not even the 9th sometimes, because more teams do answer back on that, but by the time they get around to it, you can see this kind of trade going back and forth and accumulating by this point in the game, considering this half has gone on now for 6 rounds. But with it being nothing but success for Clemson, Texas Tech has to at least scavenge something together, has to figure something out. And now having that Odin in play, now going back to that tried and true, okay, Odin sprayed through the wall, at least get some damage, at least get some pressure. And as soon as they come out of that smoke, you're expected immediately to say, I have an answer for this. I have a spray down. I have potential to find kills or at least pressure to kind of force these guys back because they're still lingering towards that B site, not even really having anybody lurking about because they're still worried about that player to the middle of the map with that operator in hand while they've already replayed it towards that A site. So it's a little awkward seeing what Clemson's running into so far, but slowing them down, I think, is at least the best first step that they can start looking for.
Our producer's been harping almost just as much as Dallas has on Panda Tank up to this point. Mostly, and if not only, just because they called them a fake Sova. Sorry to call you out, Prod, but a fake Sova because they were never playing the Odin on that B site. So there you go. You happy, producer? We see the Odin come into play and we see good success. It wards off Clemson Orange. Texas Tech even getting first blood elsewhere from top mid all the way back from bottom mid. It's put them at a man advantage. It just can't keep them out of market where all control has now been reclaimed for Clemson Orange, but they don't feel safe enough yet to extend out through site, out through market door, because they have to flush themselves out of A in the first place because Tree and Garden didn't pan out for them as Panda Tank sprays down Zuko. A second to go for Halo Jorge, and boom! The Odin comes in full effect and finally puts Texas Tech at double digits, where they were apparently being chokeholded at 9. And usually you say it's double digits, they get you there, and they get a round win on the defense for the first time in 6 rounds, shutting down the chance of a 7-round-in-a-row spree.
I mean, hell, they just hit 10. They still got another chance to kind of be choked up for a little while. Because, I mean, keep in mind, Clemson Orange still have a bye to work with. Texas Tech have a lot of ultimates to play off of, but Clemson Orange, I mean, so long as they pop that no command there on the post plan, they can deny all the time they need. They can take all the time they want to kind of just go ahead and let this thing air out and wait for that retake. It almost acts almost like a lockdown to a certain degree. Sure, not nearly as actual impactful, but instantaneous and has its own ways of really skewing around in one direction. But already, it seems like we're not going to go in any specific direction starting off this round. As neither team has really kind of gone ahead, found some aggression through the middle of the map, and we do see a couple peaks coming through, but with a very widespread default to spike back and spawn, you're going to be relying on that from the shadows to kind of go ahead and go on a rescue mission when necessary.
I have the spike.
Spike will be reclaimed, and they'll start to pivot off towards an opposing site. Clemson Orange knowing they have first blood. Unfortunately, this first blood and the death in the first place doesn't really help them much here. Placed over at bottom mid. Where was that player actively defending? Where would the weakest link be? It really isn't much. It's just an Omen that's knocked off the board. They can typically play anywhere. Now the question is going to be, where's that KJ? They want to play against that Soba. Do you want to fall back? And they don't want to. They wanted to extend in towards the A site, and Jazzcatraz does a great job of shutting that down. Poco, though, couldn't hunt down Jazzcatraz and may put Texas Tech in an even better spot as the Hunter's Fury comes out, not only taking down Halo Jorge, but getting damage off in the direction here of Clemson Orange, putting Poco even further down on HP as Storms combos in to secure that frag, and Zep finishes it in from Tree. Texas Tech finally up to the, I guess, pizzazz they were showing us in the first half. A successful retake on this A site, and an 11th round now falling to their favor.
And the wonderful thing there is even the read coming out through Panda to kind of go ahead, play things slow, stay towards the back of the map, and work off the Hunter's Fury. Because what's the one ultimate that can find effect away from that null command? Well, obviously lock down this pre-place, but that'd be stupid for a Sova to go, or a KO to at least pop that afterwards. Well, the Hunter's Fury has more than enough range to reach across the map, still play for that deny, and so long as you call default plant, you know exactly where that crosshair is going, and it's just easy damage. Even then, when you find that successful kill, get that third hit onto a Jetta Ball, people, you're saying, hey, I mean, I'll take it at the end of the day. We know where that KO is. His null command is giving up his position. We know the source of where that circle is. I took elementary math, so it makes an easy little call out, and better yet, an easy shot opening up with Jazzcatraz, able to go ahead, find an operator, and really have some impact in this game, what I've seen in these past couple rounds.
Yeah, for a player that was very absent in Dallas, and the fact that I couldn't even remember their name bar 3 rounds ago when I was talking about the opposition's jet, Texas Tech's jet, I couldn't remember the name. Not just because the name is slightly difficult, because they just weren't bringing much to the table on these defending rounds. It's just not a name you highlight.
So it means fair.
It's unbelievable to see, and they're finally highlighting themselves here, and it has to work that way. Epoch does keep Cybers out of the objective, and Storm managing to refrag things is quite nice, but they'll also fall. It's still that man advantage for Texas Tech here on the defense. They want to try to swing in. This lockdown will force them out of this A site, force decisions to be made, but that's why the Hunter's Fury comes in. Wow! You just used the Hunter's Fury on a player, meaning you had no chance. This lockdown's gonna detain them. They're down in hell. Jazz Contrast has guaranteed this round.
No
Get
way.
in there, buddy.
Jazz!
Thank you. All right. You've guaranteed the round because you didn't isolate the lockdown. Your entire use of the ultimate was for the lockdown. And you said, oh, a player, a squirrel, off looking the other direction. You can't get distracted. Your role was there. Fulfill your destiny.
Nuh-uh. I was after KJ the entire time. I was looking to get 2 birds with 1 stone.
Time out. Really?
I didn't see Observer whisper to anybody. Okay, that's fair though. At least Clemson's taking it. No.
But you
I mean,
DMing
good
people
God,
in the background.
dude, these sofas are driving me insane.
It's now
like,
both sides.
Exactly. At least thanks for making it fair, Cliff. I feel like I was beating up on Panda too much. Now it feels like we don't discriminate. We'll talk crap about every Sova here in the lobby.
Sovas equally, all right?
But it's just like, dude, it's the point where knock out 1 player with 1 more player alive. When we're all on site, because I mean, the timing of that was perfect. The Sova had to get that down, didn't really play back towards arches. Understandably so, that was a perfect placement for it. But I mean, knowing that even then that it comes out, it's already giving away your directions. I mean, that's the panic of popping it on site because you're saying, I'm now an exposed player who doesn't really have a gun. So my teammate's going to be fighting a 2v1 because the Hunter's Fury isn't going to do much. Or I go ahead and put it up, fight with them. That lockdown's, just there. I mean, it really comes down to the timing, and you have to commit to shutting that thing down. So, I mean, regardless, well played by Texas Tech. There was a 2% chance of Clemson playing that better and just going ham, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles, quite frankly. So, that point here for Texas Tech on, Clemson's pick.
Yeah, I mean, Clemson would have had to go straight gunfight. They would have had to outskill Texas Tech. And at this level of play, at this level of skill, for the talent we have in the SCL and these, more positive winning teams, that's not going to be the case, right? It's going to be a statistical nightmare for you to try to guarantee success purely off the gun game. Zeph, though, trying to work in from bottom mid, knows that they've lost players and they really just don't want to lose any further. Tybers from the shadows into the back of Boathouse and uses that as an apex point to deal with Zuko. You got to do a whole lot more here. Storm's got the VTOL out. Zap, you have no information, nothing to work off of. Storm's going to be entirely relying on this from the shadows through. There's transfer
makes it doable.
But Jax, it's the 1v1 now with Zeph, Halo, Jorge. There's no sight plant. Spikes in the back of Boathouse. Zeph has theoretical full control. Why are you turning it back, Zeph? Halo, Jorge, freebie kill. As Texas Tech had everything going for them in the retake. Given so much control because of Storm and the V-Set and Zeph coming up big, and you throw it! Giving Clemson the best shot they've had to get back into this.
You know what, player, you hear the shadow stuff, it doesn't go back towards Boathouse. You still have a chance to play Ring Around the Rosie. Spike isn't planted, so it's not being forced to be taking that Ring Around the Rosie back towards Boathouse. But you still open yourself out and just take the chance on it, man. It's just...
Get out of my way!
I get it. If he TP's on the Radianite, he's close. He can win that 50-50. You're isolating yourself and giving yourself that space once more, but... It's just like, it hurts to see. But regardless, so double digits now. The Warp becomes an orange push coming through, but already a player knocked out. And guess what? An untradeable Yoru on the other end of that gun, able to go ahead and find a successful one and going right back to Boathouse, which is where this push is coming through. So able to go ahead and find one, looking to capitalize off the back of it. There goes Panda. That's your Sova out of the game, but even then more so, you got Storm, who is now on the 4K. Give the guy the aces to close it out.
Yeah, it's just Halo, Jorge left and remaining. There's 2 other players that can just hold tertiary angles. They do not have a from the shadows, which means this spike is yours. You have control almost entirely off the back of Storm, but it was great distraction from Jazz to keep them Zeph to keep them in that space, to have control over the area. Texas Tech just really thrive off the back of the fact that they're having to peek too many angles, and they didn't peek directly below walkway on that beast site, feeding the beast, feeding the eco of Storm even further. As they now get ready to head into a second map, should it be required here in this round unless a miracle occurs. Coming out here from Halo, Jorge. They will manage to get control of the spike here, and wow, using that dark cover so darn successfully, but can they go? Storm's already here. Storm gets the ace to secure that 13th round for Texas Tech. I almost thought it wasn't going to happen for a moment there as they were stuck in the reload animation. But they were just trying to show off that sweet skin, you know, just trying to show off that sweet animation. They'll secure their victory. Texas Tech will not allow Clemson to make that full comeback in the second half. And they'll be writing themselves off into a 1-0 start now heading into their map pick for our second game.
Well, I've said it before, plenty of time. I'll say it again. Why are we picking Ascent? Why we pick? Let it be a decider. I mean, that close to the fair, I understand. I always say it. It's either by a close margin or it's a total stomp by the other team.
And it looked like it was going to be a stomp. But
I mean, Ascent is never the map where you're saying, "Oh, we win this one by at least 7." No way, easy closeout. That's not how this map works, man. They might as well make it like if they were to introduce like how you cast Siege, like a training AI playlist where you have like all the matchups and stuff. Aim Labs, when they do that and they make the practice courses with people already with angles on it, Ascent was like the first one to be put in because they're just like, I mean, what did they not play it? I swear to God, it's like if you go into an AI match, like your first match online is a level 1 Valorant player, they're probably going to throw you an Ascent.
It's Ascent.
I mean, it's just wild. And you think that this map, you're saying we know it better. You really don't. You never do. And it's not just here targeting Clemson for that, but it's a note to every single team in whether it be collegiate, VCT, challengers, elementary, preschool. You come out the womb in this day and age knowing that, well, Ascent is Ascent.
It's the Mirage of CS. It's the Oregon of R6, right? It's the Summoner's Playground of League of Legends. I don't know what the name is for that. Summoner's Rift, there it is, of League of Legends. It is the map. It is the map. It's the quintessential esport map of this esport. And somehow teams still think that they're going to have a lead on it. The mindset's got to change. There's got to be a big shift in the mental for it. It doesn't matter, though. Clemson are going to have to be facing that loss on their map pick, now exiting out of map 1. But before we head on over to map 2, we're going to take a quick break. Do not go anywhere. Will Texas Tech destroy map 2 and send us out here quick, or will Clemson manage to make it through and send us on into our third map of the day? We'll see you after a break. Is this the last map, Dallas, or is this just a segue map leading us on over to our third map of Breeze? I'm sure you'd love to see it because you love the map, but Texas Tech and their fans do not want to see it come up. They want to close out this series 2-0 and shut this Clemson Orange side down as soon as they possibly can, as we now get ready to head over to Bind, where we've had quite a discussion about Yoru in this break here in the booth, and Yoru is pretty darn good when it comes to the map of Bind, arguably infinitely better than they usually would be on Ascent. Now bring it over where Storm was already rocking it on the first map. The second map's about to be the same darn thing if they can help it.
The difference we're really going to see is, I mean, and part of that discussion was how Yoru literally has a 100 piece of dollar util that counters every single sentinel in the game, and it also is a walking flash. Thing is, for my discussion here, is going to be the Sentinels. Are we going to see the Cypher? Are we going to see a Chamber? Are we going to see more frag-oriented setup? Or are we going to see teams actually playing more around their util? And quite frankly, Clemson, I don't really know what to tell you here, because while their gunning wasn't really there until the second half, their util placement even then was a little bit more questionable there for when they were on the defense. So I don't know really what a Chamber would provide to them, quite frankly. And even then, I mean, honestly, another wild card that we could see kind of on the rise here with these recent busts that have come through could be Deadlock to some degree, knowing that she can isolate fights, knowing these walls are going to be playing really well, and even more so when you look at the speed and caliber of what Texas Tech has done. A singular wall that what feels like has 3 quintillion health. It's going to be pretty good for slowing that down.
Dude, I saw so much Deadlock this last weekend, and It is just a visual, just heaven to see Deadlock in play. The
She's
most
cute.
annoying agent I have ever seen have to like face off against you. It is just the worst. And I love it. It's the best thing you can ask for. Barrier mesh. You're not getting through this zone. And the second you think you do, there's a second layer to that barrier mesh that you're not going to be able to step through. You want to try to get through this area? Sensor. Here's another one. Slow field. You're trying to go crawl through the area. It's just so beautiful. And while we don't get to see Icebox, where I saw so many deadlocks this last weekend be so darn good at, I did see it once on Vine, and it was very successful, especially with the Annihilation being really good about bouncing through walls to get into control through center of tube on that B site, and also being able to flush back around towards lamp on the A site. But it's not the end all be all. It's not the single best PC utility, and I would be very shocked to see it come into play considering the lineups we saw come at the end or in general for map 1. We do see Storm over on that Yoru. Panda Tank's really teasing us with this Gecko. I would not be shocked to see it. It just doesn't really feel like it fits this lineup, though. I would be more expected to see that Sky because they don't really have other great initiation bar Storm, and they really would have to rely a lot on Storm for it.
Yeah.
And I just feel like the Tasmanian Tiger is a lot more intel that you would really want actively for clearing up places like Lamp as well as places like Octagon on that B site. But it is an interesting choice for Poco on the opposing side. They were the Jet from last game here for Clemson. They say we still want to keep up with it. Epoch was absolutely gunning on the KO on the map of Ascent. So why not just keep passing them the rock, give them the race, put Poco on a secondary duelist. Used to be Reyna's back in the name of the Rock Double Duelist. Put him on the Yoru, that VTOL, that information, the secondary initiating power you really gain with that, and the ability to counteract all of that Sentinel utility, in which in this case is the Cypher for Zeph.
I think it really comes down more so to the fact that we're not seeing any Sentinel at all for the side of Clemson, which, I mean, is a good call, considering that you didn't play defense on Descent. So might as well not run a defensive-oriented agent when you're not going to play defense. You're constantly playing retake. Just have one more piece of utility to kind of just go ahead, facilitate the aggression, and get yourself back on the side. And just one more pair of flashes, or one more piece of aggression, or just one more thing to funnel somebody out of a corner. It makes a lot more sense of kind of what they're working with, and knowing that even this is Texas Tech's map, you see what they're kind of rocking with. So already going ahead, you talk about needing that Gecko, kind of having to have that Yoru kind of play more of an active role with those flashes off the back of Dizzy being the only real entry you have there. But this map is really fast. I don't think that's going to hinder them in the slightest. I think this map, with how quick it is, that's why Deadlock is kind of really strong here, to some degree of what we've seen some teams provide, whether it be a rarity or not. But, I mean, knowing that even then the speed and aggression that comes up behind it, the best thing you could do is just have one more gun inside these fights, especially Panda, one of the top fraggers of that last match. If you have a wingman putting that spike down, you don't have to concern yourself with kind of having a player out of the fight, because that 2 seconds, or at least those 4 seconds you're getting that spike down, it's pretty effective to have somebody else there and have another gun fighting. But the curious thing to me that's up in the air right now is going to be these pistol rounds, because we saw Texas Tech not accumulate a single one on that first map, and it was a detriment to them. No, maybe not in that first half, but the second, it was abysmal. So this is their time to really rebound and say, look, we can get something done here because this is our pick, so we should understand how the pistols work.
You can see a lot of the brewing up action for Clemson Orange outside of Octagon. This is just a great way for them to bide their time before they TP on over towards the A side as they left their Viper in through short. That information will be relayed over towards Texas Tech, but they left 3 players stacked over to the side in the first place. Wingman will go out, will have to be cleared away. It's just a great way to slow down Clemson Orange and the escape in towards site. Epoch tries to clear away Cubby's side, bench side, no one's there. But it's up to Zuko and Halo Jorge to get the kills instead, as Jax gets that right click of distance to the head of Panda Tank. It's a 2v4. Not the perfect spot you wanted to be in for Texas Tech on these pistols, who has not yet to win a single pistol so far in this series, and are trying to clamber their way back into a chance to do so, as Storm gets that headshot off to their doppelganger of Poco and start to make quick work, or maybe slow work, I should say, as they try to crawl back into that open space, and they're not being given any control over it, as Jax and Halo Jorge find the last 2 necessary to give Clemson the pistol.
Easy comms to know what those last couple of players are lurking about, knowing that you get that cam off, knowing somebody's traveling U-Haul, knowing somebody's probably back towards main, and even the last one's unknown, probably on that triple stack or even over towards showers, but they would have already swung on you. They would have made a play. They would have thrown a piece of util to kind of give themselves away to some degree, and the shower just push wasn't really there, because that's where everything was facilitated from off the get-go. So seeing how many players are knocked off. It was an easy read for Texas Tech. Problem is the kills just weren't really there. But Clemson now having themselves one more pistol round. I'm just not really too surprised at this point. Their pistols have been the only thing they can really rely on in these games. And honestly, it's a big factor of whether or not they get themselves some rounds. So do they find themselves two and then kind of carry on from this point? Because Texas Tech isn't really rocking with anything crazy besides a singular sheriff in the hands of Storm. And while that doesn't find them too much of an actual effect, you're looking at a 2-for-1 off a singular player there of Zuko. So an easy push here towards the B site, an easy plant to go off. And off the back of that, I think it could be just another easy round coming up from Clemson because a retake isn't going to be really too doable here with the guns at hand.
Yeah, it's about as expected, but what can you really do about it?
Spike planted.
I'm not sure why your Gecko is still on the opposite side of the map at this point, but he'll get there eventually. Worm your way in through back of elbow here, Tyrus. What more can you possibly ask for? Sky Smoke still in the way, blocking your sight lines. You wait out for Panda Tank, who wants to die to Spike. I think that's what they're going for here, and I wouldn't be too shocked for that to be the case. Don't give the eco over to Clemson Orange so freely. But you can see there's a little bit of hunting being worked in here, and Panda extends into an area that wasn't really necessary, as everyone got a piece of the proverbial pie for Clemson Orange, as everyone gets their kill they were asking for. And Texas Tech will, as expected, lose out on that second round, and probably should have just played to die to Spike. I don't know why they extended so far to go for that.
Well, first round on the board here with the guns or the full rifles on the side of Texas Tech. This is where they obviously have to step things into high gear, but Clemson Orange is going to be the moment where they kind of show up for what their utility is capable of on this attacking side. Running that full offensive kind of potential here in this utility kit, knowing they're not running a Sentinel, knowing they're replacing with another duelist. We got to see what they can really bring off the back of this. Whether or not these flashes are really going to make these fights one-sided, or whether or not they're actually going to go ahead and utilize these blast packs to maybe go kind of for a quick hit through A main, find yourself that pressure towards U-Haul and find a free kill off the back of that Stinger. You never really know. But going for the long angle out here towards B is going to be a pretty bodacious move by them, which could be rewarded considering nobody's really holding it. But you still got to touch onto that site where you have a massive Cypher setup, just going to be there pretty consistently.
Zuko's got that Sheriff looking for Storms, and it's not going to be them that actually gets the damage out. The big solid stack of players for Clemson Orange buries Storms almost immediately with no chance to TP on out of there. Poco with the dimensional drift in the smoke.
Here.
They're trying to worm and weasel the way in through this back of elbow. We saw just how good Storms was with that shorty just in the second half of Ascent. And now we're seeing Poco replicate that and go above and beyond as proper weapons are being collected now for the Clemson Orange side. You have to get kills if you're Texas Tech, and you are fumbling the bag in that regard. Only Panda Tank, who we had so many things to say, so many nice things to say at the end of map 1 in Ascent. The only one to find any kills for your team, and they had 0 going into that. They got 3 at the exit. Texas Tech, where is the rifle buys we've seen you be so darn good at, as there's seemingly no defense in this entire series for either side?
I mean, it's that same level of confidence. I mean, that we're just seeing slack once more on this defensive side of the game. We saw it when it came around to Ascent. They just don't like taking these angles too aggressively. They don't like pushing for these fights, and they just kind of give too much respect to their opponents. You got to look for that good blend, where obviously you're not disrespecting them and kind of just forgetting to play the game properly, but you do still need to be very full aware of what's going on around you and make sure to kind of take these fights and angles that you know you can properly win them and even effectively fight them. And B Long would have been that spot to be holding, knowing that, okay, what's the biggest thing they can run into you? A Guardian? Well, you just saw the round before that the biggest they had was a Bulldog. So it was a team ace. So everybody got a kill. That gave you a full read of what guns they're working with. And with nothing being a Guardian, you're saying, okay, if I have a Vandal, B-Long's got to be free from me, right? And they just completely give it up. But another situation here, already on site, you do see Stormo to go ahead and pull out 1, making these things a little bit more difficult and more expensive. But how much is that really going to pay off? Considering you go 1-for-1, can the rest of the team do that? Nope, because it comes down to single shots around these angles that you got to be holding. But Jax is just really swinging them better.
Jax, you got to ask a lot of a single player, and Jax is really doing that here for the team. Poco gets their frag off towards Storm. Just Panda Tank. How many times has it just been Panda Tank now already?
Third time
You're not asking for a Gecko to do this much work. That's not their role and responsibility. They do lock the head off Jax. Why are you alone?
He's got his little buddies.
Yeah, he's not alone. He's got friends. That's the whole point.
He's got Dizzy, Mosh, Wingman, and Thrash. That's not even a full Pokemon roster. He's still missing 2.
He's still missing 2. Still missing 2. You could still take out a whole lot of gyms though if they're over leveled. That's how I used to play Pokemon.
If
I
you
would
bring
just
a
have
gun to a Pokemon gym, yeah, I think that makes we're playing Power World at this point.
I was gonna say I usually just over level one Pokemon, my starter, and that's how we clear all the gyms. No. Dallas goes, yeah, we got Vandals, baby. We're going in.
Come on, Brock. What you gonna do about it?
I'm level 43. I've got the assault rifle schematic unlocked.
If it's a rock type gym, we're playing Helldivers. What kind of penetration does my gun have?
Seek them out. Time to hunt.
Oh my goodness, that's a great crossover that Riot could do actually for Gecko. If they ever do like crossover skins, because I know they do that in League a
Or
little
even
bit.
just character skins in the first place.
Yeah.
But we'll never see that.
We'll never,
Unless they
especially
get
for
desperate.
Pokemon.
So stop playing Valorant. Make them desperate. Release character skins.
Dude, guys, you want to see cool skins, right? Stop playing the game.
One enemy
Great
remaining.
round from Texas Tech. 4 kills now, finally losing one. But Jax is now down to little to no HP in the process and is entirely camped out inside hookah. I think we've got a moment of downtime and get back to it. Stop playing the game, and then they're forced to release other things. It's a perfect idea. It worked for Smite, right? Everyone stopped playing, so they started doing like crossovers, like anime.
They just make a second one.
That's too real. That's too real. And you know what? I'm
30
buying
seconds
that god back of that one too.
I am too. It's okay. It's too much value. But
It's too good.
look at the value though right here. $2,900 gun getting once again robbed out of these hands, and Texas Tech finally, apparently all it took for them to get around was for us to stop talking about them. So
Yeah.
finally getting on the board. Took them a little while longer than expected. Obviously, you're expecting a 2-1 lineup. 4-1, not really the worst thing in the world. I think Texas Tech, I mean, their strength for what we saw for the most part was coming from that attacking side of the map. So knowing that they're not really starting here, we're not really giving them too much. That Cypher's just there more so as, I mean, Zeph wasn't really a massive fragger in that last map. He was just kind of more of a presence in terms of utility and kind of helping out the rest of the team. So being on the Cypher role on the same regard, letting Panda, letting Storm kind of be those facilitators and being those main just kind of problem solvers. And once again, Jazz being that Jet, now swapping over to the Rays, once again, just going to be more of a body being thrown at the side to kind of get something accomplished here. But Storm going for a trick play, trying to go to that TP, hit things out, find a flash, and find a kill. You find yourself dead pretty quickly, as already we're looking at a 3v5 as we start talking about the game once more, and Texas Tech starts slacking.
Yeah, this is, oh, man, we gotta just get like Caster's Curse on a new level. Like it shouldn't be a Caster's Curse when we're not talking about the series at play. Jazz Trask goes down off towards U-Haul. Jack's to be able to find the frag.
Spike planted.
Nope. There he goes down. A bit
player
unfortunate. Tries to shoot the Roomba there as well. Just Panda tank remaining. Off goes the head of Epoch, but you're looking at a not very manageable 4v1. They want to make sure Dizzy's back in the pocket. I want to point out our observer called Wingman a little freak. I don't know what Wingman did to him. I don't know what happened. But he said, and I quote,
I don't know what him
seeing
and Wingman did
the
with each
little
other
freak
better
run
yet.
away with the bomb. They're talking about Wingman plant. They want to see a Wingman plant in this map. And the observer referred to Wingman as a little freak, and it says respectfully, complimentary. No. You said little freak, and you didn't change it until after I called you out again. That's so rude. He's so darn cute. Gotta hold us. Gotta hold.
Something seems out of
production
pocket, but
team
it's like
responsible.
relevant to the Riot lore. Like they've released this product before. I think it'd be like suitable to say, right?
I think.
Because the only little freak I'm thinking of when he says that is, obviously everybody here's seen Arcane. You remember on Twitter when everybody was going crazy over the Yordle in a gimp suit?
Yes, yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Ryan put that out, so I think it's
All right.
appropriate.
They did it. They did it. Yeah. That's grounds that they did. It's not.
I'm only
it's not
following my
our fault.
employers, and at the end of the day, Riot pays us.
I'll handle this.
Down goes Jazz Gatraz for the first death here in this round, as we'll try to vacate the subject as fast as humanly possible. Zeph gets the root crack that Texas Tech are asking for, but Storm cannot meet up where they need to in this series. Clemson are shutting down the Yoru of competition as Poco has
Spike
seemingly been the
planted.
only one to get any success out of this utility kit, which is kind of expected, as we had also seen Storm struggle on the defense on the last map of Ascent with that Yoru. It's not really changed as they've relocated themselves off to a sandy map of Bind. Clemson at that 4v2. Oh, great. This is great reference as well here for Dune because there's spice, spices in the middle of the map. It's a sand map. Great references
All right,
here.
yeah,
Totally on
no.
purpose, Riot. Sorry, it's
We were on a
it's
streak,
Player
making it to the
standing.
lap, but you missed.
No, that's a great reference right now because Dune 2 just released. Sorry, you're not a fan of Austin Butler.
I'm just not a fan of reading.
To be fair, that is a unlucky epoch. That is a hard
That's-
book to read too. That is a hard book to read.
That's a hard thing to swallow too, right there. Taking that spike.
You tried to sit in there.
Thinking,
Your
I mean,
whole
he
team
was
goes
confident about it
elsewhere.
too. Had all
Yeah,
the
he
time
was
in the
like,
world to
"Don't
go
worry,
somewhere
guys, I'll live." Sorry, you do not.
Unfortunate. Panda Tank does carry over an operator though, which I think of all the players that should have that gun, it shouldn't be him. While I mean, he is the one that can frag. I mean, it is a full investment of this guy just landing every single shot. I think he can do that, quite frankly, but it comes down to the 50-50. With the spike going over towards that B site, you got to go ahead and find the aggressive angles of swinging these players over towards A main and find those kills relatively quickly, but that's just not the case so far. But honestly, vacating this entire area of the map, you can see it right there. B main being given up, Showers kind of taking a little bit of an aggression there, but not too much of one. And Panda Tank, the guy I talk about, getting Castle Cursor, is really unlucky, but already
One
swinging back
enemy
and forth.
remaining.
There it is.
Oh.
3 players closed out. Operator robbed away as well. 5v1 situation. You know where the last one is. You can go head hunting if you feel like it, because the call's been made that he
Spike
is lit for
planted.
145 at least. And he has an operator, so I wouldn't blend to kind of go for that. That's why you send the Yoru. They're going to go for a 1-by-1 approach, and this is going to be fun to watch because that makes it winnable for Zap.
This is the best chance possible for Zeph. What you need. But they're all a little bit too late to the party. He's gonna get side cave all the way back towards attacker spawn. Boko's worming their way in for Clemson. And
He
they're definitely
knows.
gonna see them first. Oh, maybe
He
Zeph was turning.
knows. He
Boko? Will they see it?
Portal
Toy with
closed.
him. Toy with
No,
him. Toy
knife
with
him,
him.
knife him, knife him.
him.
Yes!
Knife him.
Yes!
Oh, it's
That's
easy.
fair.
He didn't
That's fair.
turn.
That's
Zeph
fair.
didn't turn the whole way.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I think what you do is you swap to a classic as you get closer, and then you switch to the knife.
Maybe,
That's your
yeah, a
one.
little bit of extra speed, but they're already low. Call out was made, 5 HP.
You get a little shout out from your favorite org if you're using their classic, their capsule. That's a wild thing. Did you see that actually, like, some teams have already met their yearly minimum
You're
purely
kidding.
off capsule sales?
You know what to do.
That's impressive.
Like, it is genuinely crazy of, like, why didn't we do this sooner?
I mean, R6 is the first esport to, like, actually have, like, team-based skins for a long time. Like, at least in shooters. Like, MOBAs had done it for a while, but they have also existed for a long time, right?
I mean, it also actually puts capitalization inside the
Fake
game to
teleport.
manipulate, kind of the hype surrounding people. Because I know, I've seen a lot of teams who are running NRG classics, and it's like, I sit in those classic wins those, and like, I bought it when NRG was cool. It's like,
Yeah, then when they're
Womp
not,
womp.
you got to buy a new one. So it's perfect for Riot. He's just increasing sales.
exactly.
Not keeping players on a roster is actually perfect for you because if you're following a single player and just have them passed around like a, like a hot potato, then it's good, right? You're just increased sales. What a hit with the paint shells.
I
It's
thought
not
I was
gonna
gonna
matter.
kill.
Clemson Orange somehow are up 2 players now in a post plant.
Spike planted.
They have literally been. It's been impossible to keep them out of a sight.
Oh, man, it's so
Ball
fair.
Cypher.
I mean, the way they're playing this map, though, is not your typical kind of approaches on these maps. It's not fast and furious.
Last
It's not just
player
going to press that
standing.
W key and going for success, which I think we're probably going to see Texas Tech go for. But, I mean, Clemson, they're just kind of separating things up, taking these fights by surprise, and then just letting it be on their terms because they're the ones kind of lingering about. So these situations where Texas Tech is constantly inside of these predicaments where they're just, once again, over and over and over again, trying to fight
No,
for
doctor.
shambles.
But I
And
can patch a
honestly,
bullet hole or
another big
two.
thing I would
Let
say
me
is
know
I
if
need
you
to see
need
Panda
healing.
Tank die a little faster. Not in terms of, like, obviously in a negative connotation kind of way, but I mean, being your initiator, being that guy that can kill. Imagine if Panda Tank's on site, maybe first, second, backing up that duelist, and he does his thing, finds those 3 kills. It gives enough confidence of your team to really give those retakes a shot.
Clemson Orange, the reason why we've been so off topic for so much of this half is just because of how much control Clemson Orange have when this strategy has been the same exact thing over and over again. It's the same problem Texas Tech were having, or putting in Clemson's lap on their defensive half in a sense where all the utility that's put up to try to slow it down doesn't matter. Nothing matters. All of it is active and you're too slow to send it out. You're trying to play too retroactively. And Texas Tech just don't have the ability to keep Clemson out of an objective. Even when they rotate, you're trying to stack up 5 on one side. You know that they were there, so you have to get overzealous. You have to get greedy. And when it doesn't work, when they completely go the other side, you then have to scrounge up for scraps. And those scraps aren't where you want to be.
Spike
Make
planted.
matters worse, Viper's Pit now saw so much of that attempt in from defender spawn. You've collected a rifle that's been gained over inside A short. But that's not enough. Thrash comes out. Information is key. Zuko's down to 5 HP, but it doesn't really matter that much. Orbital strikes where the biggest point of contention will be as Jaskatraz not only gets their second, but their third before falling an even 2-on-2. 1 HP, it seems, to both your Gecko and the Sky, but the Sky doesn't need to fight. They'll let Panda Take walk into their line of sight. 3 kills to Zuko, which is also timely since Avatar just released on Netflix. Whole lot of timely references right now.
I think it's just, I would say it's not really timely references. It's just us being good at our jobs.
I don't know how us referencing a show that, because like you watch the VOD back in a month and none of it's going to make any sense, right? Like,
but I mean, still we could talk about Avatar or Zuko and it's like, oh, okay, Avatar. So you can talk, I mean, it's a reference. Timely doesn't, I mean, what platform it's on doesn't really matter too much. Were you talking about Netflix? No, I don't think so. You know what I'm saying?
Netflix may not even exist in a month.
Oh, trades though. Texas Tech, it's the best situation they probably had all game, except for their 1-round win.
Yeah. Trades though. That's really all Texas Tech can ask for right now. How many times has this been a plant for Clemson and it's a 2-man, if not 3-man disadvantage for Texas Tech? It has to be different. And they've got to create that opportunity to make it different instead of wait and exhaust all utility with no real impact past it. They funnel in from showers. You get your frags. You peek them early. Orbital strike, though, will ward you out of lamp. No one really in there, though, for Texas Tech. Boost pack round the band. Epoch goes for something juicy, but Panda shuts it down. Zuko, though, will not be shut down. Now they're the only player remaining. It requires Zybers to swing in for not just the one on the Halo Jorge, but also back towards Zuko to give Texas Tech their second round win just after they allowed 5 in a row to go in favor of Clemson Orange. This very well could be a 10-2 half still in play as Panda Take can't full bioweapon they really want, and they got the Outlaw now and soft armor, and they apparently didn't like the option for that. They're gonna, nope, they want the Outlaw still, I guess. They'll get full armor. They'll have somebody else buy than the Outlaw. That'll be a little bit smarter to even things out here. This isn't a full buy that you really like to see in the very last round. And the ultimate you have, Storm's about to pop, and they're going to get a ton of information here.
I'll handle this. Here.
We'll take an aggressive approach. The one thing I was kind of leaning towards a little bit more so out of the Texas Tech, I like to see they get themselves maybe a 3rd round on the board if they do something like this. But already going ahead, pushing it towards that B-long, now TPing all the way back over across the other side of the map. I like this approach that they're going for, to at least taking this control by the horns, getting back into that spawn and show that, okay, now we can take things from alternative angles. Even more so, you got to look at the rest of his team. Storm's already grabbed that 1 kill over towards Showers. A very good TP to get to go ahead and facilitate. Know that now that wraparound has been made, that players are now back towards Spices, and you've taken full control here. But there's one exchange that's been made for that. Jax is on a massive flank back towards that defensive side heaven. It can literally clear this entire site if you do have the timing. Even if you don't, you know enough players are here that you grabbed enough kills where this side is now available to the rest of the team. You just got to find these picks one by one. Jaskatraz could get this.
No.
You find the exchange there, but once again, Panda taking a 1v2. This is a situation that is very much doable. Wingman available in 3 seconds. 2 players scattered about. You've already gotten the read that one's up towards Heaven. They're still lurking there.
Wingman's
and
diffusing.
so long as you just got to shoot bullets at that point, it makes it doable as all heck. Already with Wingman shot, having to swing through a wall, that makes your job not impossible, but not ideal.
Switching sides.
10-2 will be the split at halftime in favor of Clemson Orange. A team that was looking at the end of the first half of Ascent with almost as harrowing stat line against them. Now does it in return against Texas Tech, who will have to play a near flawless attacking side. They have yet to win a single pistol in this entire series, Dallas. And if that still holds true, they'll be looking at requiring a perfect game past that, which is very, very difficult for any team to do, let alone a team where you've given them such a dominant first half performance where Jack's at 16 kills, the flank of a lifetime at the end of that last round. You fed the beast. You made your bed. Now you have to lie within it, and something has to change. And apparently they're feeling real happy about this. If you're Clemson, they're dancing. They're putting down sprays. They're having a great time. And they're going to send 3 players here out into showers. As Texas Tech, yeah, they want the ace side, but they're going to put 4 players through short to get there and do so.
Another pistol round, possibly the end of this map as we know it, considering that Clemson has won every single pistol round in this game so far, with an instantaneous flank going down already. Spike working with is the same exact flow we saw from Texas Tech on their last attacking side. I knew they were going to be fast. I knew they were going to be aggressive. I knew they were going to be quick. But will they be successful? Will they find the necessary kills? And they've done just that so far. So there is a chance inside the series for them to kind of get things done.
Texas Tech, they've wormed their way to success so far. They're going to need a little bit more past that. Zuko tries to extend in. Classic, not able to get the right click of dreams they were hoping for. And we fragged in the process. Jack's now the only one left standing. Isolates Storm, but now being rushed upon by Panda. What a shot to take down Panda, might I add. But Jazzcatraz knows that swing is coming. Hits the wall bang with the ghost and puts Texas Tech in a positive round. Their 3rd ever round here on this map of Bind. On their map pick. In their first pistol round win to secure it. And they can go up as heavy as they feel necessary heading into round 2. And Panda Tank really wanted to buy a rifle there, but I think they're being, you know, reined in ever so slightly by their team, saying, okay, maybe not the wisest of decisions. As Tivers will be the one with the Bulldog, 3 Spectres for your 3 roster players in between, and then Panda Tank, your top frag right now, opting for a Marshall. They traded it into a Bucky. What in the world? They want to get in the face, and they're getting rushed down by Clemson instead. Panda! 3 shots with the Marshall, 3 kills onto Clemson.
Up and away.
Look at the thing looking like an outlaw, which it basically is when you don't buy armor.
Yeah, it's still gonna hit you in the chest. It's still gonna hurt. It's still gonna kill.
Rash is ready.
Is that a wingman plant, by the way? I mean, he manually planted that.
Dead.
Is that a classic kill with the Cloud9 Classic?
Is it?
Brought to you by Valorant, who isn't paying for Whippy's guarantee anymore because he got dropped today. Unfortunate.
Is it an ace in round 14? Jax has collected
Possibly.
a Spectre. This is not actually a
Does he
good
give it
spot
away?
for Clemson to be in.
Just shot my wingman.
Man round the corner. They know it's there. Round the band. There it is. It's the ace for Panda Tank.
Stayed home.
With a Marshall. I was judging this Marshall choice. And a lot like how we judged Panda Tank and the Sova on Ascent, and we were then immediately forced to eat our words. We just got to stop judging this man. Anytime we start to dig against them, it just turns into this.
Last map, though, it was consistent, and it was like he was getting kills over here and there. This map, though, it's like if you're the last one sending cops to put in clutches, sure, you're going to be the one to have the most kills because they're going to be kind of hesitant. They're going to send maybe 1 or 2 after you, not overextend from the spike. It's a situation where you're saying, dude, why are you always the last alive? So, I mean, there's different sides to that argument. But I still think, I mean, obviously, being a fragger, I said that Panda needed to be kind of pushing and facilitating these retakes a little bit more so. But now in a situation like this where you're on the attacking side, you're in your respectful spot, the front of the line, or at least holding hands with whoever's in the front of the line and kind of working hand in hand. So, I mean, able to go ahead, win up these first 2 rounds. It comes to a round like this, and once again, we're seeing respect being given up. But then again, when you're up against the Thrash and an ace in that last round, it makes all the sense in the world.
Storm's gonna have to try to get this kill off towards corner. Can't. As Epoch gets in instead, will be dealt with by Tivers, but that's not the biggest concern. Concern's gonna be that you've acquiesced control over towards the back of sight, and you're gonna need that long flank to come at a lot sooner rather than later. Your own level Jazz to do so. Panda comes in onto Poco. Zeph, the whole team is dead. Where are you going? Headshots galore. Can Zuko hop off? They will. Can't get much more past it. Zeph, speed! Your team is dead! You've baited the whole roster! Notice notice how when they do it and Jax goes to the long flank, they didn't push until Jax was done with the flank. Your team extended while you were still on B. You've got to be quicker into the objective. Chasing those players down, the speed just isn't there. And Texas Tech now be 2 rounds away from letting Clemson possibly send this over to the 3rd map of Breeze.
It's just one of those points where, I mean, it's a matter of respect that I see lacking in this game. I mean, it was the same thing that happens where I just talk about these teams where they find themselves a lead, they slow things down over and over, and they kind of play it like that. I mean, Texas Tech, you just got to bring your A game. You got to start pushing, you got to start playing this map, and even then more so knowing it's their decision. This is or can be one of those specialist maps. Meanwhile, Ascent doesn't really cater to those crowds. So knowing that, I mean, they're losing this thing out leads you to kind of believe that, well, if they're going to be playing things slow like this, and if they especially go to a more open map, how are things going to work out for on something like Breeze, where you do maybe need to kind of find that same aggression, but it's just much easier to funnel these players out and choke them off.
Lots of noise off towards Showers, but it's all Clemson making the noise. The big racket off towards that side of the map. We'll have to be very wary of the fact that there will be a TP made here for Texas Tech, as 3 players are primed off towards this A site, and the 2 players that are poking towards B wanted to take TP and just, I don't know, this isn't the right idea. Panda Tank needs to fall back. They're the player with Spike, and all attempts to control that zone because you had your Yoru off in that space fall short and flat.
Dim beacon down.
There's nothing that can happen here. They'll rotate in. They'll take the weapons that are dropped in the floorboards. This is an eco round for Texas Tech, and the result's going to show for it. Here he is. There's a little
30
rascal
seconds
running
left.
forward. Notice I say rascal and not freak, Colby, because I'm not mean to Wingman. He's doing his best here.
You did good.
But it's Texas Tech. Is Poco ulting right now? He's going with him.
He's baiting them. Problem is, as soon as he
already
does
be on
that
that
ult
side.
up, they're going to know. Which
Yeah.
he's still kind of beats them to side anyway, so what's it matter?
10 seconds left.
Oh!
Last player standing.
The prediction shot by Timbers.
My wingman's down.
And Wingman's going to be cleared away. This plant's not even going to happen. You need to die here, Panda. They're not going to kill him.
They're trying not to.
Honestly,
That's
you
actually
didn't
so
even need to
funny.
worry about that.
Let's reset.
You have so many rounds
Deep
lead.
breaths
Like,
and all that.
you probably should just left him. Even if he would have killed you at the end there.
Oh, then he's going to pick up that gun.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, the time was already kind of thin.
With how
Chances.
close they were, you can get that done
Right
within the second.
True. It's
If
true.
it's 0 on the
true.
board, it's right.
It's true. I just know the comms at that moment were run.
Right there.
I just, wow. This is just, I don't even know really what to think of Texas Tech after this kind of map that's happened. I mean,
It's
like I
bad.
said,
This
Bind
this
is a
bad, man.
specialist map to some degree. Well, sure, not as specialist as, say, something like, you know, Lotus, or something like
Wingman's
Fracture,
planting.
but it technically is. And it's just wild to see that they picked it, and it's just is not what's happening.
Ooh.
I
He gets down. Little buddy, you worked well. Unfortunately, the only thing that's worked well here so far for Clemson Orange has been the showstopper and the boomstick from Poco. Kills from Texas Tech as Jaskatras refrags back off towards the
Last
shower
player
side. One player in the
standing.
back of sight, that was Poco, no longer up for contention as Zuko has to refrag. A 1v2, one off towards Showers, the other one sitting on site.
One enemy remaining.
Isolated as
God.
Zuko has no assistance. Panda Tank, this is the chance to shine as they'll send down the field. You can't really step into this if you're Zuko.
Why did I sign up for this
They'll
shit?
tap things down, it's over. Zuko gets 3 kills in this round. Time will be
Crazy.
tight,
Clutch.
but 0.57 seconds is
Defenders
enough
win.
to do it as Clemson 13-4. Texas Tech right on their map pick. You
Brave.
thought a sit domination was bad. Bind domination is even worse, it seems, as Breeze is in fact guaranteed today.
And even then, I mean, Bind domination, not really the craziest thing in the world, but still being from the side of the opponents is something that's kind of crazy in its own right. I mean, obviously, we know Texas Tech to kind of be those attacking sided guys, opening things up with a swing and just really hitting you hard. But when they don't have the proponent to really get there, to get themselves forward into those spawn areas and take those fights early on, their defense is what's really lacking here. And I think it's going to be a big contributing factor to what we see on Breeze. That map's to be a lot more retake oriented. Does that really have nearly as much of a setup, I'd say, considering you're going to be running that Viper, sure, but everybody else is going to be playing around that site and kind of looking to play a little more aggressive and spreading up and taking that space because there's so much more of it. So I think, honestly, this is going to be the best decider we could probably work with. Looking at these two kind of game plans and how these two teams really work the map. And I mean, it should pan out to be a good one, hopefully. But it really comes down once again to that matter of respect, whether or not it feels like in a situation like this, has Clemson earned it? Or better yet, is Texas Tech just ignorant to saying, we're not going to go for that and we're just going to ignore what they've really deserved at this point? Because while they've been fast, they just haven't been nearly as furious as what we saw earlier.
Yeah, Ascent is so much easier to push into a site freely off that aggression, and Texas Tech weren't given the space to do so because they started off on the defense. They're much weaker side and weren't given that freedom to make mistakes on their attacking side, and I think the pressure was just too much. They fed the egos. I think they have to respect Clemson here. There is no game where they can sit and go, we can just do our attacking strategy. They need to change up everything. They got to go into their depths, their strat book. They maybe even have to change their default agent selection. If their entire agent selection is that ruthless style of aggression that they've been trying to bring the last two maps, I think you got to find something a little bit more standard. Stick to the status quo. If you want to go all the way back to High School Musical days, you got to fall back to it. But before they do so, and they'll have plenty of time to talk about it, we're going to jump to a quick break before then. Don't go anywhere. Back with map 3. Let's see how this one ends.
Make a poll.
10 to 13, 13 to 4. Also, yes, make a poll in the Twitch chat for the question that we've been asking.
We'll
in the
do one
break
for each
here.
half.
For each half. That's perfect. How is this third one going to go, Dallas? It's hard to say, but we're jumping on over to the map of Breeze, one you oh so love, and one that we desperately need to see. A new variation of agent selection and a totally new strategy, I think, from Texas Tech, because the one they've been working with and worming their way in there and toiling with the last two maps, I don't think it's going to work out here at all.
I mean, it's doable. It's doable. Either side can really pull this thing out, but it comes down to whether or not Texas Tech can really just kind of tighten up. Because look at how they played when all cylinders are firing for them. They seem like a much stronger team. I don't think we've really seen all cylinders fire from Clemson. While you can argue that sure, a 9-1 is going to be them, it doesn't really seem like they were trying, which is relatively concerning for me, knowing that if they do kind of get to their point where they're really kind of hitting all the right notes, they could be that much more of a force to really be reckoned with. So I think the map of Breeze, it opens a lot more air. It kind of provides a lot more opportunity and kind of isolated gunfights, these one-on-one instances, for these to really kind of go in the direction of Clemson, quite frankly. Because, I mean, seeing how big this map is, Texas Tech, they moved as a unit on ascent, really hit those sites as fast as possible. And oddly enough, after winning that map, they didn't replicate it on the Bime, which is really what the map is literally made for, even up against a kind of composition that had 0 sentinels. It bewilders me, quite frankly. And that's the only way I can put it.
They did get unlucky in the side choicing. Their strengths were attack, and they didn't get it to the second half, and by then the damage was done. So they were already, they buried themselves in a hole, and then they were forced to climb out of it, and they just couldn't do it. It just was not possible to do, which is why I think now heading into this map, they have to have that same mindset. They're starting off on the defense. They cannot play that aggressive style. They cannot go in with this hyper in-your-face candid attitude of play. It's got to be so much more calm and calculative.
Please.
The Neon actually would be really nasty, but I just don't see them. I don't see them picking it.
So long.
I agree. I love Neon
so long,
but the issue is it's gonna go right back to that same play style of needing to be in the face here.
That's the best way to do it,
and they can't play that way. They can't play that way again because it hasn't worked against this roster. They have to play a little bit further back, and this is a lot better of a lineup. At least what we're seeing right now is Zeph is trying to pick what they think is going to work best.
Oh, that's a bit of a switch up. I don't know. It gets to that point where I'm just kind of like, dude, there's opportunities, there's space, there's chances that can be derived from opportunity that you create.
Where's your smoke?
I just think overall, yeah, it's just another one of those situations where you're just kind of like, you stretch it out as how you can, and you just got to win your fights, and it just comes down to vanilla matches once more.
This is gunfight. So you have no smokes, Dallas, to cut off these exits, and you're defending rounds against Clemson. I don't understand. You have a Cypher Cage, which I guess if you pre-place is fine.
Are you talking about Texas Tech? I mean, they both have a controller. One's got 2 controllers. Texas Tech, you're obviously talking about Texas Tech.
Do you really think Texas Tech is going to have that Viper Poison Cloud available on either objective? Meanwhile, Clemson can throw that dark cover from literally anywhere.
I mean, they have 2 duelists on the back of it.
One of the things that Clemson were respecting, even though they were playing hyper aggressive at the start of Bind, they were respecting smokes. They were trusting smokes. They would wait out a smoke. It's the only thing we saw slow down Clemson in their pushes. Texas Tech ignored smokes. The smokes won't matter against them, but they're not opting to bring those against Clemson, who were very respectful of those same exact smokes. I don't see the mindset shift.
Slammer.
I don't see
We're
why
already
you're...
seeing flanks trying to come out, but I mean, keep in mind this epistle round. I'm not expecting much out of Texas Tech because their resume isn't the greatest on this situation. I think honestly, I mean, I'm not chalking the first 2 rounds by any means necessary, but I'm just kind of looking more so to how does Texas Tech play this in round 3 afterwards. Because Clemson, they're going to play the game. They're going to make themselves relevant. They're either going to win or they're going to keep it close.
Nivers gets 2 nasty right clicks to the head of Jax. Clemson at a 2-man disadvantage. Not really much they can do here. Spotted away by the recon bolt as well. Nivers gets their 3rd here of this round. Rushed upon by Zuko. Storm finally works in from the flank, able to secure that final pickup. And Texas Tech will take their 2nd ever. That is an awesome spray, by the way. That is an awesome spray. But their 2nd ever pistol round here. They did it in the 2nd half of Bind, and they've done it here once again to the start of Breeze.
Finally getting some underway here for them. They're going to have an outlaw to work with. This map definitely is more kind of, as we mentioned, 1v1 centered, very isolated fights kind of situation. And I think, honestly, with this map and buying up the Bulldogs, the Outlaws, it makes this very, very doable, especially if Clemson Orange opts for a good couple Phantoms over the Vandals, which on this map is kind of questionable, to say the least. But good nonetheless of a chance to kind of come out here, whether or not you can actually facilitate a little bit of aggression, make Clemson respect you, and kind of push off stuff. But Jazz Katraz pushing underneath, up, and not expecting a player to already kind of be sitting there through mid. You got to swing that and get the perfect timing. Otherwise, Zeph's just going to get the read of everybody kind of coming through that tunnel, and you have them completely sandwiched at that point.
Jax in the flank, catching Jazz Katraz off guard, but it's
Spike
Storm.
down B.
3 kills for the Bulldog. Bearing a lot of what Clemson Orange are bringing into this round. Seth gets the refrag off towards Epoch. Just Jax now remaining. The only one to find success in that first blood, and now needs to go a little bit further beyond that. Benetech works in towards top nest, tries to worm their way in through towards Hall. Diver is able to get that kill and give Texas Tech that 2nd round. But it's a costly 2nd round, Dallas. It's pretty hefty. You have 3 weapons, your 4 main weapons you're bringing into it. If it's kind of on the board, an iffy stance. Dash is kind of holding off because they wanted to play for a bigger round. And now they have an operator. I can't imagine they stick with this buy. What have you seen that makes you think that this operator in round 3 is going to do you justice? You got 2 players with sheriffs.
I don't know. Jazz had a minute there where on Ascent, where like even though with a very quiet first half on that attacking side, was getting a lot of good quality value out of that operator on the 2nd end. So long as you can go ahead and get the read towards that A main, not really lock it up too much and over aggress, and then kind of get that relocation over towards the middle of the map, you can see that sort of coming your way where you're seeing that. I mean, just kind of play for the shots. Get at least maybe 2 kills here. You slow down that approach marginally, and the retake is really what matters the most. So whether you kind of hold that angle, have a player holding that left side of the arches, and let everybody else just kind of push up. But already, you don't even need to do that. Tivers with opening pick with that Bulldog, understanding that these guns are going to have a lot of prowess in this kind of matchup, especially on this map. Getting a 3rd in a row could be, I would say, deadly to Clemson, because it's going to carry on for a lot more, I'm afraid to say.
Sif's got the information here. Cam is placed up. Well, they noticed players up before. Jazz Katraz sees one, but can't get the shot that'll kill. Body tags, not enough to secure the frag because of it. It was quite low, though. Trying to go up through hallway, finding some damage off towards Trash Panda, but Trash Panda, I'm getting a little bit too much Rocket City in me. No, towards Panda. Can't do much past that. Refrag for refrag, though, as Zuko does give Clemson the tying kill they needed. Zuko will get the plant down as well. Epoch in a bad spot. Jazz Katraz, this operator has not done you anything, and Clemson are catching up. You are just trapped here. What is the chance to go from this point onwards? You have to rely on Zerers to do this, and This toxic strain is entirely snuffing out all visual acuity that you need for that operator at distance. He's
Last
trapped
player
behind crate.
standing.
No chance.
Out of there.
Get out of there if you're the player of Jazz Catraz. Hold on to the operator. Did you play an exit frag? I don't think you should.
Not now, you don't.
No, now you don't.
Yeah, dodge. You go to the next map if you can. Problem is, this is a decider.
Go to the next map.
You got no
if
other
you
map to
can.
run to. Oh, look towards that lever. Player's definitely gonna be coming from there.
I almost would half expected a player on the flank as well, but
That's kind of what I was thinking. It's like if you're gonna open that, surely you got
Get a
somebody on
pin
the other
there,
side.
yeah.
But
it's whatever. You hold on to the
Regardless.
operator, at least you know for a fact that you're going to have 4 rifles next to it in this round.
yeah, I think Jazz. Honestly, you just got to put that player in the right spot. It's
Yeah.
got to be kind of over and over and over again. I'm surprised it's not being just kind of
I'm not
allocated
it's
towards
not
nest.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, which it's a 50-50 at that point. You're watching down the middle and you're watching elbow. But if you have that Sova right there watching out towards those double doors, and I mean, you're chilling there. You can just watch elbow at that point.
Mhm.
And then you're immediately ready to rotate towards top rope on that A site and kind of react
They
to
found
that.
my water. Camera
That's what it
taken
is.
out.
You know it's already going to be a big hit, considering that you've seen the util being funneled in. You know players can be route to get out. But even more so, can you read the one coming through tunnel? Nope. Free kill coming out from the deck.
And they don't see snaps.
Second, too.
Because you have no one controlling mid. You have no one controlling courtyard at all.
Spike
That's
planted.
where your operator should be. That's where you should have a player in nest, even if they're not wielding the operator. There should be somebody holding off that elbow push. They have to come from that direction in the first place. Once the utility is sung out and your cam spots all of that, it's your responsibility past that to go from there. Jazz has to hide within a dark cover to
Yeah.
avoid the line of sight
That
there for the
timing.
recon bolts. Jazz has to sit back. They have to hope that their teammates get 2 to 3 kills here, and that's just not going to happen. It is a destructive force of Clemson. 2-2 now your score line. Jazz immediately refragged back for the 1 kill they've gained in this entire map so far. And that operator, you paid how much for that, Dallas? For a single kill.
4,700.
A single kill. The value just is not found in space control even. The whole point of an operator on top, even if it doesn't find kills, is it dominates space. It controls an area. It wards off the attacking side here. You're on the defense. It did none of that. They avoided it. Even when you fired, they just walked away from it because they knew you were in a single spot that couldn't hold 2 objectives at once. Then just no value here for Texas Tech.
Well, you got enough value to at least compensate the sheriff by already. So, I mean, you're kind of buffing it out, but not with the gun that's ideal or the one that you wanted to have.
Right here.
Still in that aggression, giving Jazz Catraz an opportunity to actually push up and find some damage. Better get a kill, but the retake is not going to be all that hot. Because even on a map like this, I want to say an operator is definitely better than a sheriff, considering the kind of range that you're working with. In a situation like this where you could probably hold that, whether or not the wall's up, makes it difficult. Able to go ahead and get one. The damage was done already at singular player, but you're not in that 1-shot threshold for the rest of the team. Got to swing around, pick up a Vandal, and
Last
you got to
player
speed it up.
standing.
Especially when you're in a 1vx situation. That just can't be the case. Clemson Orange get themselves one more round on the board. A Viper's Pit, a Blade Storm, and a Narrow Theft to work with against one-dimensional Drift on the side of Texas Tech.
To be fair, there are 4 players with just a single pip away. Like, they will have ultimates here. Who they choose to go for a pip or who they
Whether they
choose
die,
to
though. I mean,
die.
You never mentioned how they get that.
They're going to get a pip this round, right? They have to. They have to. Probably. I'm willing to bet everyone walks out of this round for Texas Tech with a pip. There's just no way.
Well, they're on defense, so your Jet has a shot.
Yeah.
But that just gets a Blaze Storm online on a buy round. Your Neural Theft, that's probably your best option, quite frankly. Especially if Yoru goes around, clears that, says Cypher, come grab this. But you're giving up full A control just for that.
And Tiber's about to get their pip.
Yep.
Spotted away. Poco, there it is.
There's that
You've got it
pip.
online. You've got one now. 3 more to go. But you can just get kills. That also charges it, just FYI, Texas Tech. The Viper's Pit goes down for Clemson Orange. Poco will begin to put this plant down. Storm's going to go into the Viper's Pit using the Dimensional Drift, the VSAP. Try to give as much information as humanly possible. The live ping as much as they can.
Not enough players there, though.
And then
to
try
work
to
with this
clear out
info.
cave. Yeah, there's really nothing here. Poco's low. They'll swing in through. Do they get them? They will. There goes Storm up for the kill. Panda and Zeph now getting their pips they were asking for. And it's just your Jet and you, Storm. Your double duelist composition remaining. And there is nothing being given to you visually from Clemson.
Player standing.
way.
The moment you try to extend into space, Halo gets 2 right after the gates. And though Jazz managing to find 2 of their own, you had too much of an uphill battle to climb through is because Jax and Epoch, or sorry, I apologize, Jax and Epoch, Zeph and, who is it, Panda? Zeph and Panda just couldn't step through. They were just buried because they all decided to swing in from the exact same angle behind pyramids. Nobody took crate side. Nobody went through box side. Meaning it was a simple spray down for Clemson to just hold that angle.
To me, it's more so the fact you pop a dimensional drift, a literal orbital
Too early.
VSAT, basically, in the terms of Valorant, and you just don't have teammates there to just kind of, funnel out that Viper first. That's the whole point of that Yoru, is to counteract that. That dimensional drift is the counter, the best counter you will receive, quite frankly, besides a KJ ult, but you're not running KJ on this map at all. Just to sniff her out and just say, gun down this spot. Funnel this chick out.
Another frag now for Clemson and Orange Panda tank. There they go. They were trying to work in, had a sheriff in hand, and unfortunately we'll be dropping that.
Spike planted.
There's only 2 now remain. Zeph is actually able to find something for him here. They already have their ultimate though. Storm needed to get something to try and get some of theirs tallied back up, but it's not going to happen here as Jax gets that shut down in return. And Zeph, do you play for an exit frag here? There's not really too much you can do. I love the rework in Cave. This is one of my favorite things they did change about the map of Breeze. There it is. Zeph onto Poco. You get the flank here. You had a rifle, but out-cyphered by Jax. As Clemson Orange will now go from a 2-0 start against them to now 5-2. Once they get to the meat of these rounds, as we like to say it, they've been flawless.
Takes a second turn on the defense once more. Haven't really hit that kind of silver lining they've needed to get themselves some consistent rounds, better yet, or anything since
Need
the
a drop.
pistol.
Thanks.
And now with the operator coming right back online, I think, this is going to be the end of this half. The operator, you can have a third shot at it, but quite frankly, 2's too much. There's way too much money being invested, or you just get to the point where you're saying, I just need to push my Yoru.
Get out of my way.
Still early, though. Still a lot of opportunities, and speaking of opportunities, the op comes into play.
Nowhere to run.
Here comes the utility. Panda tank knows that they're working in there. They had the camera set up by your Cypher Zeph, but Zeph can't stay alive. Epoch gets the first blood with their own Hunter's Fury. Last fire from Panda tank secures 1 as well. Halo Jorge forced to drop off the pillar on corner. Jazzcatraz opens up with an operator shot, but Storm can't win their one despite Halo having been spotted.
I have the spike.
2v3.
Player standing.
Quickly made a 1v3 with Tivers swinging that back corner and rusting out Halo Jorge. It's Epoch. Do they know what player's in Cubby? They would be so visible. There it is, Panda Tank. Thank you for turning that way. Because Epoch saw Panda Tank unless they're playing with black cinematic bars on the sides. No question to ask. We have a widescreen screen for Valorant, right? Do you play with cinematic bars? Are you able to extend it all the way?
You can't mess with the aspect ratio.
Gotcha.
I messed with it. I had like a display modifier that was on, but all it does at that point is it just
Stretches.
yeah, it just stretches it, and then I'd be playing like a CS:GO player and throwing up every time I look at my screen.
To be fair, that's how I play CS:GO. Or when I did play CS:GO. It's now CS2 now. I played with like 4-3.
I just want to let right now for the record, I only have 2 hours in CS. It was only in surfing.
Ult's ready.
We need serving in
But
Val.
they don't
That's
have
actually the
surfing
best
anymore, so I don't have a singular skin. But meanwhile, in this game, I got plenty. So I have every Vandal skin up until the Champions 2023 Vandal because I didn't like the way it looked.
Dallas is like, please, Ryan, please. Please.
Enemy mark.
Meanwhile, me, I don't have any Valorant skills.
Last player standing. Spike down A.
But I mean, also, I think most of the talent for... Sean Garris, imagine the amount of skins he has now. Since he was
They were all from CS for the most part.
imagine how many skins they have.
So
Something
the
about
was
it,
from
true.
CS.
They can
Brandon
still sell those
Sideshow were
skins.
from OW.
Can't sell those skins. I know Up Mine has a lot of CS skins.
I know a hot topic today is the Cowboy Bebop collab that's coming over there.
Is a Cowboy Bebop collab? In what?
Mhm.
Overwatch or CS?
Yeah, OW.
Oh, wow.
We don't say names.
Interesting. So, my bad. Did we not?
It could be Overlord Windsor. Mutual.
We give some
friend of ours.
ambiguity to it. Yeah.
Our orangutan wildlife, the charity we donate to every month.
Great. Now we have to donate to.
the screen down.
Sorry,
But
Fred.
if nobody's made that, we can make it. It could be us.
There you go. It can be us.
Just pay,
Yeah.
pay ourselves.
Yeah, it's perfect. That's how it works, anyways, right?
That's
It's
fraud,
esports,
but it is what it is.
Esports, baby. 5v2. Clemson, after finally giving some rounds up to Texas Tech, finally had enough of it, it seems. Do you pop an ultimate here if you're Texas Tech? I can't envision that you do so. There's just no reason. The VSAT gives you no information. You already struggled with that 3 rounds prior.
Player standing.
Zeph can't get a shot up because they get taken down by their doppelganger Jackson. What a swing by Halo. Flawless round for Clemson Orange. You get 2 back. We're just going to find another one right afterwards. We're going to make sure you have no chance. And it's another operator that I don't think really found a lot of impact at Jaskatraz. I think most of his success came from the Spectre previously.
I think, dude, literally what it is Texas Tech just wants us to, like, play this like a podcast or a watch party. Anytime we start mentioning the game, like, again, Clemson's just like, yeah, stop talking. Then Texas Tech is like, no, keep mentioning anything besides us. We're camera shy.
That's what it is.
One down.
I mean, they should be camera shy. Every time the Cypher cam spots them, they know where they're rushing in from. That B-side's been hard to
has
hold
a
for.
4K camera on it.
That's true. If you have a 4K screen, I guess. Yeah. Otherwise, it's whatever the resolution of your screen happens to be.
No, back to the black bars, though. Yeah, they're small. They're not a big
Yeah,
deal.
yeah. Epoch and Jax securing themselves good pickups here for Clemson Orange. Spike also going down. And Storm says they still want to be involved. They still want that
Time
heat.
to jump.
Which, again, you could have saved this for a Viper's Pit. Because you know that that is something that Clemson Orange play on that A site, but no. What is this? That's another dimensional drift that gives you no information. They're all back inside cave, but what are you doing with that intel? Pop flashed around the bend. Storm did not see the player inside corner. Won't matter anyways. All 3 of them funnel into the line of sight here of Clemson. And a 7-4 split continues as we now head into the final round of this half, where it either goes 8-4 or we see a 7-5, and Texas Tech have no money to really put up a good solid chance at a 7-5. It's going to be tough pressed.
Gotta see really how things play out here. I mean, already getting yourself 4-8, locking that in for yourself. Worst case scenario. I mean, this is kind of the best case we've had in terms of a half in this game so far. So, I mean, even then, just getting 4 is going to be good enough for you in Texas Tech to get back on that attacking side where they kind of feel at home. That's going to be a different note that they can really start hitting once more. But is it going to be the same speed of aggression what we saw earlier on? Because even then, on Bind, it just was not really there on their own map pick. So, something that's a little bit more of a decider and something that isn't their home grounds per se, like Ascent, well, or like every other team in the league. Who knows what they can really start to work up with? Because already you see a first ball on the side of Clemson that's leaning more towards their side of this entire game. Ultimate investment over towards that A side. Jaskatraz finding a very clean pick with that, well, not operator, but a Marshall. And able to go ahead and make things look pretty darn good. Exactly, the outlaw. It looks like an outlaw. That skin does.
That skin looks just like an outlaw. You said Marshall. I was like, no, wait, yes.
I thought it took me a minute.
All right. Shots connecting from Poco. Headshots galore. And Timer's not a point of contention right now for the defense of Texas Tech Red. That wasn't really much they had anyways, knowing the eco they were in, but good scrape away from dangers. Panda Tank forced to fall back. That will clear away that trap wire that is placed as well, and Jaskatraz will have themselves a Blade Storm to work with. I think they traded the weapon out to the player behind them. Yep, that's a rifle now in their hand. Is getting some shots off in towards Zuko. Snakebite will ward them off, and Clemson Orange can just bide their time. There's really not much more they have to face off against, and somehow still you get a pickup against Jaskatraz because Zuko's got amazing covering fire. Clemson Orange go through with double the stat line of Texas Tech escaping into the second half.
Switching sides.
Well, 8-4 that we kind of predicted to come on our way, at least towards those past couple rounds, coming into fruition. Still, nonetheless, a result, a better one from what we've seen in previous halves in the last 2 maps. Make this look relatively feasible for Texas Tech, but it comes down to how they open things once more. They got themselves the last pistol round. Obviously, getting one for themselves right now would be pretty darn optimal. But I think even more so, looking at how they performed in that 3rd round, making things really expensive and making it look doable, it was more just so kind of giving up that sight over towards the B side. When we saw the operator come into play, saw the Bulldogs in the hands of those guys. I mean, there's a world where you do win that. Quite frankly, there's a lot of alternative timelines where you can win that, but it just comes down to the opportunity not really presenting itself. But speaking of opportunities, there's not much of one to really retaliate once more, because a very quick B hit coming through comes down to the TP, seeing the decoy, knowing that's not getting shot. That didn't trigger anything. No tripwires to worry about. The site's clear, guys. Come on in and make yourselves at home.
That was get that plant down. No one there to deny it, like you mentioned. Seemingly Clemson just saying we'll go in for a retake for this B side. They're all really close in, so they have tons of time to retake the objective, and they're starting to make work in. Zuko in from Mickey D's, has assistance there as well. Refrag is available for Texas Tech, but it's off in towards Cannon instead, as 4 of the 5 players that were there for Texas Tech are sitting a post play in from
standing.
Clemson, with the majority of their players trying to come from Arch's side or in from Hall, really we're just left with no answer to that rotate back forward as Zeph in from hallway. Halo has to clear that, can't, and it's perfect intel for Panda Tank to secure their very first. Back into it again. I would say first, but I'd just say solo is really what I intended. There's solo frag there to deal with the final player, and Texas Tech will now go 2 for 2 for pistol rounds on this map.
Go for them. Still got another round to be working with here, though. But understandably so, seeing how they're playing things out. Already forcing up the Guardians, forcing up the Vandals, maybe having a Bulldog spread in there as well. They're going for 3rd rounds and beyond. They're looking to string these things together, and I really can't blame them. If you see yourself losing any of these guns, though, that's the real big deal here. You can realistically only lose 1 player, because those Guardians going to have just as much impact as a Vandal in a round like this, just as much impact as an Outlaw, just as much impact as an Operator. It just comes down to holding on to it all. And that's why Storm's kind of looking to overextend. But quite frankly, I think this is the one round you play exactly with your team, just in case something gets dropped. You can pick up and recover it, making sure the rounding still goes in your direction and you carry things over.
Storm gets some shots out. Damage to the second. Poco and Epoch removed from all chances on the defense, as Texas Tech will need to move Storm back to a safer spot. They wanted to hold on to the weapon. Unfortunately, Zuko had rounded their way up to attacker spawn and caught them off guard. So much there for Storm to try to get out of dodge to escape with and keep the Bulldog, just for it not to matter. But it's otherwise a near flawless round for Texas Tech, as any attempts to swing back into the backside of sight, and with Clemson losing all chances, they'll now head into this next one. They've got an Outlaw in the hands of Poco, which isn't too shocking on the defense. And otherwise, just rifles up for the team, with Epoch missing a little bit of armor, but they're going to buy up Storm a rifle for this next round. This is essentially going to be a rifle-on-rifle full round for Texas Tech, right? Considering how much they went in on that last round.
Paid off for him. Miles, quite frankly.
Yeah. Dividends.
Just because holding on to how much you got, the guns in hand. Clemson Orange, they have a singular player on an Outlaw. So while that gun sure isn't going to have as much potential of actually retaking things, it's going to act like an Operator to some degree, considering that some of these players enforcing out those weapons don't really have the full armor to work with.
Portal closed.
You at least got a lot of information to work off of.
I'm back.
Who's available. You find one. Second off the back of it, Storm going ahead and creating all the space your team needs.
That's exactly what you're asking for. Unfortunately, the rest of the team can't seem to find themselves on the same page. Jax knocks down their doppelganger, Zeph. That's fine, but it's Epoch getting a shock dart kill that shocks the world. You're rushed in by Jazzcatraz, and it's just Divers all by themselves. And the Cypher cage leaves Jax completely obfuscated from view, and Zuko does not miss when they swing that corner. Clemson, in a round that obviously could have gone Texas Tech's way, especially with Storm opening it up so successfully, and all of them having rifles, better weapons even than what Clemson Orange are bringing, still come away with 3 players alive.
Woo. That was your best shot, quite frankly. Round like that, Storm opens up, says, I didn't get mine, I got more. The rest of the team still just can't really be there to execute off it, especially knowing the spike is down. It just comes down to when the spike is down, once again, that same exact situation, just playing defense. So we're honestly, Texas Tech Red may be more powerful when the spike isn't down on the attacking side. They're good at playing objective, but it's not an end-all be-all.
Alcatraz gets first blood. Halo is not in the best of spots anyways for that firefight, but it's not the worst case scenario. That's have to remove the cam that's sent out from the spy cam, the dart that pings
Spike planted.
Jax has sideline from top of staircase, thankfully covering fire from Poco indoor. Secures that pickup where necessary. As it's an even 4-on-4, and it does seem like we're seeing some sort of flank being brewed up by Storm, which will be a necessary one as Texas Tech are losing players in the foray. But you got to hit those heads, and even when you do, it's not enough to kill Poco. 1 HP remaining on this Jet.
Last player
as Clemson bury themselves deep inside of Cave, and Jax nets their 4th of this round for 20 to their name. 7 above the second best player in this lobby. You found your king when it comes to frags, and it's in your cipher, and you found your I don't want to say queen, but you would say king is kills, queen is assists. Zuko's got 11 assists.
It's at that point where, I mean, you just got to look at the map, look at the X's, look at the results of these rounds and saying where are the gaps. And it just comes down to everybody sitting back towards that main area and a singular player dying way in the back. And it doesn't matter who gets what done. When Clemson Orange has any resources, they know where the problem lies. It lies right there in that main. Just rush it. Take the 50-50. Get the dart out, get a flash there, and just swing it. Because they're going to be like fish in a barrel at that point. Easy kills waiting to just happen. Another easy round just waiting to occur. That's another success here for Clemson.
Cutting through.
No decoy goes out. Poco will be flushed back with a recon bolt. They're readily aware of the fact they're starting to push themselves forward. Is the information there for the shot? Poco just can't hit these, man. They've got to be a lot more finite with this utility, and it's just not panning out for them. Clemson having to rely on Zuko.
Oh my God.
A 3 trade is insane, but it's going to have to be more. Tibbers still in this site. Can they hit any further? They can't, and the flank from Epoch was just there as well. You've got now 26 kill participations from Zuko, your Viper. 15 kills and 11 assists with the second least deaths on your roster. Second least in the game. This has been an absolute monstrous showcase from Jackson Zuko.
Yep.
This almost matches the one I saw in CVLS last weekend where one player had 4 assists at the end of map 1, and then their average at the end of map 2 was 18. So they dropped like 28 assists in a 6 OT round ascent game. Sure, but still, that's an insane amount of assists. This is what we're seeing right now from Clemson. They are tired of the accusations after map 1 that this was going to be a Texas Tech game. They came swinging to map 2, and they're doing it again here in map 3. Oh my God.
Okay, that's the way to
What
start,
a hit.
I'm back. The only thing you really got. Spikes down, though. Once again, this is where we start to see Clemson Orange just overwhelm these guys. Having the reads, having all the resources necessary. That's a Jazz going to be vulnerable for a little bit. But I mean, you had the tell on every singular player. Are you throwing out a paranoia, looking to go ahead and corner that player in the back of the map? But even then, you're not making a swing off the back to really get enough off there. But still, enough of the spray through the orb, through the cage, and having all these guys aware, it comes down to Storm in the back, having to go nothing from the operator in hand. And while you can get the hit, while you can take the shot, the problem is if you miss too many, or better yet, just with the rechamber speed. One! You just look at, well, another
Match
round
point.
loss staring you in the face. As we look
And
at
a
a
match
6-12, not all the buys in the world available for this team. Zeph is going to be asking for something from Jaskatraz, maybe. I mean, 1750, you can... There you go. Squeak it out, buddy.
From Panda. Pan had enough for a rifle.
Jazz is going to be working with the Blade Storm. Panda's going to be running an operator on the attacking side, which I'm already just kind of like... The neurons don't really fire off from looking at that too often.
You like
good
it
for
because
post-play.
operators are cool, but you don't like it because it just isn't isn't, right? It just
I don't
isn't.
mind operators, but I mean, they're just, you can't swing with them really.
Yeah.
I mean, some players can prove me wrong, but they're not made for that.
Yeah.
Operators are made for the defense. But
Attacking
Texas
round,
Tech,
though.
that's what they need help with.
Yeah. And they have ults. I mean, they have 4 ults coming into this round. They've already popped the Blade Storm. They have everything at their disposal to work
Spike
with, but they've already
down
lost
A.
that
They
Hunter's
got 3
Fury.
ults.
They got 3 ults.
Ewa,
They got 2
snowman.
ults. they've got 1 ult.
Toxin screen
That's
down.
everyone on
Time to
Clemson
jump.
is getting a piece of the pie. Texas Tech at their wits' end. And the VSAT, even if you had success with the Veto, when you were doing something with it, wasn't enough. So even if you were to somehow
Last
charge it, it
player
wouldn't matter.
standing.
And it's not even a chance to do so. Zuko buries that one. And it's a
no ult.
flawless ending.
Defenders
You had Texas
win.
Tech pull off an ace in the end of map 1 to secure. Clemson says, yeah, okay, we're going to beat you on map 2, on your map pick, heavily so. And we're going to end the final map pick on a flawless round result, which I argue could be even better because you didn't even get a chance in that round to piece them together. And you had 4 ults heading into it, then 3, then 2, and then 1.
Just, I mean, I'm not really sure what to make of this too much. Texas Tech, they brought their A game on Ascent, but it's one of those situations where, I mean, still, the map of Ascent, when anybody chooses it, I'm thinking, okay, not really sure why you did that, but there is a shot that, I mean, keep in mind, if Clemson's map pool is diverse enough, they could just have picked Ascent to make sure that's not the decider because it was going to be kind of the closest affair and know that the rest of the maps were theirs. There is a world where that's possible. There is a chance. And that's the strength of a team who can overwhelmingly feel comfortable on the majority of the maps. Ban those out, understand kind of what your counteraction's looking like, what your opponents don't like as well, and saying, let's go ahead and get the bad one out of the way because everything else is going to be good from us from that point out. And then Ascent isn't nearly as kind of stressful because you're saying we know it and it's not a problem. So, I mean, good calls from them if that's the case. I'm sure they'll probably take credit for that. Now that I mentioned it, be like, that's a really good idea. Yeah, that's what we did. But in all honesty, I mean, when it came around to the point, Texas Tech, their attacking sides, they were good, but they barely got a chance to even look at them for these other 2 remaining maps. And their defense just was not there to back it up.
Their defense was full of holes, Swiss cheese, right? Like you always say, like they get pushed through like wet tissue paper. It was already full of holes. There was no need to push through those gaps and make new gaps yourself. It was already full of holes. And that's something that was very obvious even in map 1 that they took the victory in, right? Because they had such a dominant start of the attack and they had to make those few rounds that were needed to win, but they still struggled to get those few rounds that they needed to win. That's why the score line was 13-10 at the end of map 1. It was still close. They still, both teams get double digits. Second map, you never had a chance. Third map, 8-4 at halftime. You let them get 12-6, and then you didn't even have a fight for the final round, right? Like you just had no dog in it any further. They're going to have to change things up, and they're a very good team. There's a reason why they're heading into this one positive. They didn't have forfeit wins, right? They didn't have to worry about that. They had their bye week in week 1. They were a very good team, and now they're heading into this one and saying, okay, we're tied 2-2. That's not really where we want to sit, and we obviously have some things we need to make up and mistakes that have to be recovered from, and I think a lot of it stems – I won't say this is a game that's lost in agent selection, which is sometimes something we highlight because it feels like we pick really bad agents. But I think this is a strat book loss early, right? Their style of play just isn't a good match to Clemson. And they should have realized that after map 1 when the second half was going so poorly for them. And it's something they should have realized at least halfway through map 2, halfway through the first half, because by halftime, it was already a little bit too late in that series. Let's be honest. They should have realized it a lot sooner and changed the style. That just has to be different. You have to worry about it a little bit further, Dallas, because this was, I want to see more from him, and I'd like to see him in about 2-3 weeks, maybe. Put a pin in it. Let us see him in 2-3 weeks. I want to see him again, put him up on broadcast, something, show us a VOD, because it's got to be different.
I don't know if it'll be the same matchup, though. I mean, considering Clemson, obviously a very strong team, saw the diversity of their map pool when it came around to something like this, of what they knocked off, what they let slip through. But, I mean, at Texas Tech, it just, as we mentioned, I like the attacking style. I like the quick plants. It's the post plant, more specifically, that really needs that work. Because, I mean, they find the success. They get onto site. They get the spikes down. But they just don't play the defense in the same way. They understand what their strengths are, but they only apply it in particular areas rather than just kind of all-encompassing. I mean, a big thing I got to look at in map 2 for Bind, how we mentioned how Panda was always in these clutch 1vx situations, is like, this guy's an initiator. Like, what are we doing? We're not letting him initiate here. We're letting him be the last man standing, which is supposed to be your controller just naturally. Same thing on Breeze. I mean, I'm not going to call it any names, but I mean, even then, just kind of looking at some holes here and there, there's some pressure tools that weren't really hitting how they needed to. I mean, I can say the name of a gun, an operator didn't really find the same kind of value that you were looking for, quite frankly. It's just these points here and there that just kind of really start to well up as this kind of skeletons in the closet. And whenever you have Clemson knocking on your door, they're like your mom. They're going to check every facet of your room. They're going to open your closet. They're going to check under your bed sheets. They're going to make sure that everything is actually clean. And if it's not there, then it's just not there.
Yeah, she's gonna tell you the guests are eating in your room, and that's why it's got to be clean. So there's no getting out of it, right? She's gonna sass right back at you, asking why you have to clean your room when no one's going in there. It's gonna happen. You got to get the job. You got to do the dirty work. You got to go through the step-by-step process. And if you don't, you're gonna get called out by your mom later, and you're gonna lose PC access. Because right now, you're gonna lose game access by your coach. Your coach is gonna have to get you through a VOD. Your coach is gonna just sit you all down and talk things through, because this cannot happen again here in the SEL. You are too good of a team to let this happen again here in the SEL. And they're going to have to really talk things through. But that's it for us here today, Dallas, for the SEL. More action coming in next week with more Rocket League coming forward. And then, of course, back again with us same time next week for Valorant, the best time of the week. And I know we don't have this fancy things like Bepic making videos for us. We still have plenty of great combat.
We may
and
get on
FPS action.
eventually. We can do that.
We could. We're probably.
I think we got enough synergy to where we can make it entertaining, even though we're not breaking down the stats perfectly. I think we could ballpark it and just like
let's just cheat. Let's just take the CVal Hub rankings and just
yeah.
find everybody, and that's our ranking. So just every
let
week.
us know. Yeah, we can do like a Saturday podcast type thing where we talk about the rankings, kind of BS around with each other at the same time. I don't know if we'll get paid for it, but I mean, hey, if y'all watch it, we can get that ad revenue, so it's all good.
Yeah, it's all good. We'll put it up on Twitter. It'll be perfect. We'll finally have something that's not just Bepic's face up 24/7. Though it has handsome as he may
we're
be.
Still not getting anything for that, so I had to break it.
Listen, we're just trying to get Bepic off the socials right now, Dallas. All right, it's been too much Bepic. We're not getting the limelight here in Valorant. All right, he even can sub in and cast
Sarah.
Valorant. Like, he's everywhere. He's all over the place. We need something different. We got to take back the SEL here. I'm just kidding. We love Bepic to death. But speaking of love, all love next week coming back. Stay tuned for more.